Chapter 12:18. Half-Orc 1. Before Master Ning could put his thoughts to rest, he saw Leng Ruoxue and the rest bending down and squatting on the ground to collect the herbs. The great elder took out his small shovel and started to dig around for ores. Seeing this scene, Master Ning was completely helpless. Sub. This group of people has an occupational disease. Although he really wanted to help, it was a pity that these people obviously didn't think much of him. Thinking of this, he felt even more depressed and simply found a corner to sit down. By the time Leng Ruoxue and the rest were done collecting the herbs and ores before them, it was almost nighttime again. They could not help but laugh out loud when they saw Master Ning sitting in a corner like a pitiful little boy with a bitter expression on his face. "Ha! You old thing, why do you have such a dead look?" The first elder couldn't take it anymore. Who is this damn old man acting pitiful for? He did not have any sympathy. Master Ning rolled his eyes at First Elder and didn't say anything. He even turned his head to the other side. "Oh, you're still throwing a tantrum. It's so funny." The Great Elder teased. He had quite a good time mining today, so he decided to just tease this old man. "I can't be bothered with you," Master Ning said with a look of disdain. "Godfather, what's wrong with you?" Leng Ruoxue chuckled, knowing full well what she meant. "All of you, go pick your herbs and dig your mines. Don't bother with me," Master Ning said angrily. "I really don't want to talk to you." All right then. Since this is Godfather's request, we can only satisfy you." Leng Ruoxue's face was filled with helplessness, as if she was very unwilling. However, she could not help but snicker in her heart. When the others saw this, they secretly turned their heads and laughed. When Master Ning heard Leng Ruoxue's words and saw that everyone had their backs turned to them and were laughing, he felt even more depressed. He was just saying it casually and wanted to be coaxed. Should he really take it seriously? He wanted to cry but had no tears. "Old man, well, satisfy your request now. Are you satisfied?" The first elder said with an evil smile. "I'm satisfied. I'm very satisfied," Master Ning said through gritted teeth, wishing he could eat this old thing's flesh and drink his blood. Let's stay here for the night." Leng Ruoxue laughed in her heart. She looked at the sky and decided to set up camp here. Yes. Everyone nodded. Then, Leng Ruoxue took out another house and everyone walked in together. This time, Master Ning walked behind everyone, as if he had been dealt a heavy blow. "Reading on Maibo Snow Vel Calm, please." After dinner, Leng Ruoxue and the rest went back to their own rooms. No one bothered with Master Ning. Seeing that they were really ignoring him, Master Ning's mood became low. His subordinates who were watching from the side felt extremely sympathetic to their master. This was all the master's own doing. The next morning, when Leng Ruoxue and the rest left the room, they did not see Master Ning and his subordinates. Seeing this, they could not help but let their thoughts run wild. Where did Godfather go? You won't really get angry and leave, right? Leng Ruoxue asked curiously. In her impression, her godfather shouldn't be such a petty person. Don't worry. Old man Ning probably went into the forest. That old thing thinks we're too slow and can't wait any longer, the great elder said with a look of understanding. He had known that old man for a long time. He knew what that guy wanted to do as soon as he raised his butt. Therefore, he did not believe that the old man of the Ning family would just leave. "Damn old man, you're talking bad about me again." As soon as the great elder finished speaking, Master Ning's voice reached everyone's ears. The great elder gave Leng Ruoxue a look as if to say, "Look, I was right. I didn't say anything bad about you, don't accuse me." The first elder said with a smile. "I heard everything and you still want to deny it." Master Ning's eyes were wide open as he said angrily, "Godfather, where did you go so early in the morning?" Leng Ruoxue asked curiously. "I'm going hunting, look. I have a lot of prey." Master Ning gestured for his subordinates to bring the prey over and showed it to Leng Ruoxue and the others. "I say, you old thing, you didn't beat up all the small animals in this forest, did you?" Looking at the frightening amount of prey in the hands of the Ning family, the great elder couldn't help but be speechless. "Of course not. Not only that, I even picked up a little fellow. After Master Ning finished speaking, he motioned for his subordinate to hand over a fluffy white beast. The little beast looked like a puppy. It was only the size of a palm and seemed to have just been born. It looked so weak that it couldn't even stand the wind. A pair of big, black eyes were looking at everyone timidly. That cute appearance instantly captured everyone's hearts. Wow, this little thing is so cute. Is it a puppy? Lu Tao's eyes were shining as she looked at the little white beast in Master Ning's arms. I'm not a dog. Hearing Lu Tao's words, the little white beast in Master Ning's arms complained in a low voice. Then what are you? Green Peach asked curiously. I am the great soul-gnawing beast. The little white beast said proudly. A little kid like you, and you call yourself a great soul-gnawing beast? What a joke. Little kid, you're not a good kid when you lie. Lu Tao reminded him with a smile. You dare to look down on the great soul-gnawing beast? You will regret this. The little white beast pouted its little mouth, and its fluffy cute face was full of dissatisfaction. Why are there soul-gnawing beasts here? Where did you kidnap this old thing from? The great elder asked in surprise. Soul-gnawing beasts were good stuff. Just from its name, one could tell that this beast should be extremely powerful and impossible to guard against. However, there would definitely not be more than 10 beasts with such heaven-defying talent in the divine realm. He did not expect that he would actually encounter one here. It really made people envious, jealous, and hateful. How could he have such good luck? This was really infuriating. What do you mean kidnapped? Do you know how to speak? This little beastie is lost and wants to find its mother, so I brought it back. Master Ning quickly explained. Another one looking for mommy? The great elder said with a strange expression. As far as he knew, it was not easy for soul-gnawing beasts to give birth, and they were rare in number. Therefore, every baby soul-gnawing beast would be guarded very strictly by its parents. A lost little soul-gnawing beast like this was simply too inconceivable. Could it be that its parents had met with an accident? He couldn't help but let his thoughts run wild. Chapter 12:19, Half-Orc 2. Feng De couldn't help but laugh when he heard the great elder's words. He knew that the great elder must have thought of the second elder of the Yao family. However, the second elder of the Yao family was different from this little beastie. What's so funny? Of course, children need to find their mothers. Master Ning rolled his eyes at the crowd. Are you his nanny now? The first elder laughed and teased. Of course I don't count, this is what I want to give to Shui. Master Ning's eyes were spitting fire as he roared. After he finished speaking, he threw the little beast in his arms to Leng Ruoxue and said to the little beast, Little guy, you will follow her from now on. She will dote on you. Really? The little beastie's face was filled with disbelief. Ever since it opened its eyes, it had never seen its parents. The other beastie in the forest hated it, ostracized it, and always wanted to bully it. If it wasn't for its terrifying talent, it would have died long ago. Therefore, it found it hard to believe that someone would be willing to take it in. It's true. Leng Ruoxue replied helplessly. It was hard for her to reject such a young man. When the little beastie heard Leng Ruoxue's words, its dark and clear eyes flickered with tears. Its little nose sniffled, and it was so touched that it was about to cry. Little guy, since your mother is missing, you can stay with us for the time being. Leng Ruoxue looked at little beastie's pitiful state and coaxed it with heartache. Yes. The little beastie nodded its little head, and a little smile appeared on its little face. After everyone had their breakfast, they continued on their way. However, with the presence of the soul-gnawing beast, a small native, Leng Ruoxue and the rest had taken fewer detours in the forest. Furthermore, the little beast knew where the best herbs and ores were. Leng Ruoxue and the others had returned with a full load after spending a few days in the deepest part of the forest. However, Master Ning did not look too happy because he realized that he had made a mistake. He had given the little beast to little Shui, but it seemed to have fulfilled their wishes. They had done nothing else other than picking herbs and mining for the past few days. When he thought of this, he felt depressed. Godfather, don't be depressed. Tomorrow, Let Xiao Xiao take us to the most dangerous place here. Leng Ruoxue looked at Master Ning's bitter expression and said helplessly. Xiao Xiao was the name she had given to the soul-gnawing beast because even if it was an adult, it would not be much bigger than it was now. Go ignore him. He's just bored. He'll get better if no one cares about him. First Elder said in understanding. TSK, don't think that he didn't know what this old thing was thinking. Didn't he just feel that he had been given the cold shoulder these days? You're the one who's bored to death, old man. Master Ning shouted angrily. Who said that? I'm so busy. The First Elder said with a smile. Reading on Maibo Snow Vel Calm, please. Look at how smug you are. Master Ning was very angry. He couldn't bear to see this old thing's smug look. What should he do? All right, stop quarreling. Let's get ready to eat. Leng Ruoxue laughed helplessly. These two old foodies would only quieten down when they heard that it was time to eat. However, they would also quarrel as they ate. I want to eat. Before Master Ning and First Elder could say anything, Xiao Xiao, who was lying on Leng Ruoxue's shoulder, rushed to say. She even looked at Leng Ruoxue with a drooling face, almost drooling. Another little glutton. Leng Ruoxue sighed helplessly. This little thing might look small, but its appetite was surprisingly big. As long as it saw food, it would obediently do whatever it was told to do. With regards to this, she was extremely speechless. It was fortunate that this little fellow was with them now. Otherwise, if it had fallen into someone else's hands, wouldn't it be in trouble? Why do you only know how to eat? Master Ning said unhappily. This little guy was now everyone's new pet, and it always fought with him for food, so he now regretted bringing it back. If he had known, he would have left it outside and let it die on its own. He couldn't help but think with a bad heart. I'm hungry. I've never had a full meal since I was born. Xiao Xiao said with tears in her eyes. Her pitiful appearance immediately caused everyone to feel sorry for her. It doesn't matter. Xiao Xiao, if you like it, just eat it. We can afford it. Green Peach was the first to console him. That's right. It doesn't matter how much Xiao Xiao wants to eat. There are so many of us here, we can't afford to feed a little baby like you. Cuizhu also said. You guys just spoil it. Master Ning was furious when he saw everyone comforting that evil, cunning little thing. However, he would not admit that he was jealous of that little fellow. It's still small. Children should be in pain. Lu Tao could not help but ask. Master Ning was so angry that he stopped talking. All right, let's go and prepare the meal. Leng Ruoxue looked at Master Ning, who was throwing a childish tantrum, and chuckled. After dinner, Leng Ruoxue asked Xiao Xiao about the forest. Xiao Xiao, how many places here are dangerous for you? Leng Ruoxue asked curiously. The day this little fellow came, it had told her that there were a few places here that were very dangerous and it did not dare to go. Thus, it had brought them to places that it thought were very safe. There are 3. Xiao Xiao frowned as she thought. What kind of place is it? Tell us. The Great Elder urged impatiently. I don't know. I've never been there before, but my gut tells me that it's very dangerous, so I always go around it. Xiao Xiao said, a little embarrassed. Ugh. Everyone was speechless. This little guy had never been there before. Beasts are born with an innate ability to sense danger. Otherwise, they wouldn't have been able to grow up safely. Since Xiao Xiao doesn't know the situation there, let's go and see for ourselves tomorrow. Leng Ruoxue chuckled. Many beasts did not have their parents by their side to protect them when they were born. Hence, this required them to have some special instincts. Otherwise, they would have long become food for other beasts. Yes. Everyone nodded and went to rest. The next day, they followed Xiaoxiao's guidance and arrived at one of the dangerous places that Xiao Xiao had mentioned. Chapter 1220, Half-Orc 3. That place was located in the north of the deepest part of the forest. The trees outside were dense, and the road was blocked. They spent a lot of effort and finally cleared a path that could only be used by one person at a time. After everyone went in, they discovered that this was actually a valley. The air in the valley was fresh and the scenery was pleasant. No matter how they looked at it, It didn't look like the dangerous place that Xiao Xiao had said. Xiao Xiao, are you sure it's dangerous here? He asked. Feng Da's face was full of question marks. This was also what the others were thinking. No one could imagine how dangerous a place with such beautiful scenery could be. Yes, yes. Xiao Xiao nodded vigorously. But I really can't see how dangerous this place is. Feng Da was very puzzled. Want you know once we go in and take a look? Let's go. Master Ning's face was full of anxiety. As soon as he finished speaking, he strode forward. Let's go. Leng Ruoxue looked at her godfather's impatient look and said helplessly. Then, the crowd followed Master Ning and walked forward. After walking around for half a day, they discovered nothing other than a few scattered beasts. Everyone found a small stream and started a fire on the shore to make something to eat. After dividing the work, the food was quickly prepared. However, they had just eaten a few mouthfuls when they found that the stream water seemed to be boiling. Seeing this situation, everyone immediately raised their vigilance. Be careful, everyone. Leng Ruoxue warned. Her beautiful eyes stared unblinkingly at the surface of the water. She did not know what was inside, but she hoped that it would not take the initiative to provoke them. Otherwise, she would not let it off. Miss, what is that thing? He actually caused such a huge commotion. Lu Tao couldn't help but click her tongue. This stream didn't look very big, and the water wasn't deep, so how could there suddenly be so much water? This was really too strange. Don't worry, it'll come out. Well, no, in a while. Leng Ruoxue consoled him. Actually, she also wanted to know what was in the stream. Just now, Qing Ju had sent her a voice transmission saying that there was a huge creature in the stream. However, he kept her in suspense and did not tell her what it was. This had also aroused her curiosity. However, Qing Ju had said that the thing was not bad. If she could subdue it, it would be a great help in the future. Hence, she was not too worried about the danger of the unknown thing. Just as Leng Ruoxue's voice fell, a head popped out from the water and stared at them warily. Ah! Everyone was stunned. Why was it a person? The head above the water was a beautiful face with a pair of clear blue eyes. They were so transparent that they could almost be seen. However, the person's face was very vigilant, as if he was very dissatisfied with them. It was obvious that it was a man, a beautiful man with the strength of a divine emperor. Reading on Maibo Snow.com, please. Who are you? Why are you trespassing on my territory? The man said unhappily. Not only that, but she had also disturbed his rest and used such an alluring smell to seduce him. This was preposterous and too much. So, he hadn't eaten for a long time. He really wanted to eat. We didn't know this was your territory, we just wanted to come in and take a look. Feng Da's forehead was full of black lines. He thought to himself, why does this man change his face faster than turning a page in a book? He was very unhappy just now, but in the blink of an eye, he's acting cute again. However, it's undeniable that such a pretty boy's appearance will definitely make all women's maternal love overflow. This probably didn't include the three beside him. Wrong, it was two. Because Cueju was already staring at him with a love-struck look. So, it was really embarrassing. Many of them were not any worse than this pretty boy. What? Is this the legendary Little Bottom? Quiza's face was full of surprise. Little Bottom. When everyone present heard these two words, large beads of sweat kept dripping down from their foreheads. They couldn't help but sigh in their hearts. Cueju had learned her lesson. She had actually learned from others and liked the bottom. How do you know him, little beastie? The man asked, confused. He thought that these people would treat him as a human. He didn't expect them to be able to tell that he wasn't a pure human at a glance. His eyes were really sharp. The man could not help but think to himself. However, he did not know that the little bottom that Cueju was talking about was not the same one he knew. Ah! Hearing the man's question, everyone was speechless. They didn't know what to say. How could there be such a simple beastie? No wonder Cueju called him Little Show, he really looked like it. You look like him. Cueju said with a smile, her face full of infatuation. I don't care how you found out my identity. You trespassed on my territory and must compensate me. Otherwise, I won't let you off. the man said in a shocking manner. His words had also struck Lung Ruoxue and the rest like lightning. This was because his words were all too familiar, especially the word, compensation. It made them feel even closer to him. It seemed like they were kindred spirits. Things would be much easier this way. How do you want us to compensate you? Lung Ruoxue said with a faint smile. Didn't Green Vessel say that he wanted to subdue him? Initially, she wasn't very interested in this little thing. However, after hearing that he wanted compensation, she became interested. This little fellow was clearly one of them. Look at the tone of his voice, it's so similar to theirs. Give me your food. The man said after some thought. He had not eaten for a long time and had almost forgotten the taste of food. Therefore, the first thing he thought of was to ask for food. Just food? Lung Ruoxue asked in exasperation. She was really a little thing who had never seen the world. How could he only ask for food? One had to know that this was such a good opportunity. She actually didn't want to take advantage of the situation. As for whether she would give it to him or not, that was her problem. Yes. The man nodded. What he wanted the most now was human food. After all, he had once been a human. Alright, the food is here. Come up and get it yourself. Lung Ruoxue pointed at the food in front of them and tried to tempt them. The man hesitated and looked at the food not far away. In the end, he couldn't resist the temptation of the food and climbed out of the water. The reason he said he climbed was because he had a fish tail. The tail was light blue and it glowed with a faint halo. It was unusually beautiful. When Lung Ruoxue and the rest saw his tail, they were stunned and did not come back to their senses for a long time. I've never heard of mermaids in this world. Lung Ruoxue was flabbergasted. However, that tail was extremely beautiful. When matched with that man's beautiful face, it was a natural work of art. Sister, he's not the mermaid you're thinking of. At this moment, Qing-ju transmitted his voice again. Oh, then what was he? Fish-type beastie? Lung Ruoxue transmitted her voice over curiously. Sister, how should I put this? He should be considered half human, half fish. Some of his ancestors must have combined with beasts. In his generation, the bloodline of beasts is obviously very weak, and he's showing signs of atavism. However, it's obvious that he's not welcomed by his own family, otherwise, he wouldn't be staying here alone. Qing-ju explained with an understanding look. In the eyes of pure humans, the offspring of humans and beasts were not pure and were despised by others. In fact, in his opinion, it was clearly an excuse for humans to be jealous. This was because the offspring of humans and beasts would combine the common advantages of humans and beasts, and their qualifications were not something that pure humans could compare with. Therefore, once some humans found this kind of half-human, half-beast, they would almost not hesitate to kill it, not allowing it to live in the world at all. This half-human, half-beast must be the reason why it was able to become a divine emperor. Oh! After hearing Qing-ju's explanation, Lung Ruoxue finally understood. However, she was quite interested in this mermaid. She just did not know if this little fellow was easy to trick. As for the man who had already climbed up to the shore, after seeing their expressions, he instinctively wanted to retreat back into the water because he really didn't want to see other people's strange gazes anymore. It had been so long, but he still couldn't forget the pain he had once suffered. Wait, don't go. The food is here. You don't want it anymore? Lung Ruoxue hurriedly shouted when she saw that her prey was about to escape. The man only said the word, I, and did not continue. However, that pair of light blue beautiful eyes flickered with tears, and he looked very aggrieved. Here you go. Take it and eat it. Sueju saw that the man was a little shy, so she picked up the food in front of her and ran to the man. She stuffed everything into his hands and then ran back to the crowd with a blush. The man looked at the food in his hand and whispered in embarrassment, "Thank you," he said. "Come over and eat with us." Lung Ruoxue called out, I can." The man asked carefully. He didn't forget the reaction of these people when they saw his tail. "Of course you can," Lung Ruoxue said with a smile, and the others hurriedly nodded their heads. However, Xiao Xiao, who was lying on Lung Ruoxue's shoulder, didn't seem to like him. "Thank you. Ziyu. The man introduced himself, then found a seat beside Leng Ruoxue and the rest. I'm Leng Ruoxue, and these are my family and subordinates. We'll be staying here for a few days so you can slowly get to know them. Leng Ruoxue left. Yes. Ziyu nodded, then picked up the food in her hand and began to eat very elegantly. Ziyu, you're a human, right? Leng Ruoxue sized up Ziyu for a while before she spoke with certainty. I used to be. However, my bloodline has returned to its ancestor, so I'm no longer a human. I'm a small beast. Ziyu said with some sadness. If not for this, he would not have stayed here all alone. There's nothing bad about little beastie. There is no distinction between noble and lowly in life. The key is what you think. Leng Ruoxue said indifferently. I know, but people like me, not only will humans hate me, even beasts don't like me. The soul-gnawing beast on your shoulder is the same. If it wasn't for the fact that it's still underage, it would definitely want to eat me. Ziyu said with a bitter smile. This was the sorrow of the half-orcs. Their status in the divine realm was not recognized by any human or beast. Therefore, almost all half-orcs could not live long. If they wanted to live long, they had to find a place where they would not be discovered by others, such as him. Chapter 12:21. The Fleeing Rhinoceros, 1. Yes, I don't like him. Xiao Xiao nodded its little head and said very seriously. It was a pity that it was too small now and was no match for this half-orc. Otherwise, this half-orc would be a great supplement for beasts. If I can eat him, I might be able to become an adult directly, it couldn't help but secretly think. However, it was also very clear that this beautiful sister would not allow it to treat this half-orc as food, so it could only covet it in its heart. Is it your instinct to dislike him? Leng Ruoxue asked curiously. And that's right. Us pure-blooded beasts do not like things that have human blood in them. Thus, he is also an unwelcome existence in the beast world. If it were not for his strength, he would have been eaten by other beasts long ago. I think that's also the reason why he's hiding here and not daring to stay in the divine world. Xiao Xiao said, Little thing, what do you know? Mixed bloods are very precious, so you can't have any ideas about him. Otherwise, Leng Ruoxue did not finish her sentence. However, she believed that with this little fellow's intelligence, he would understand what she meant. Although this little fellow had just been born, he was a very smart little fox. No matter how much I hate him, I don't dare to have any ideas about him. Sister, you have to believe me. We soul-gnawing beasts are the most trustworthy. Xiao Xiao quickly raised its paws and promised. Its cute little appearance made it seem as if it was a sin if others did not believe it. Xiao Xiao, of course we believe you. So, don't let us down. Feng De also warned. After being with this little thing for a few days, they knew its nature very well. Therefore, they had to make things clear. Otherwise, if this little thing attacked the half-orc one day when they were not paying attention, who would they go to get him back? Who asked this little guy to be so gluttonous? I can guarantee it with my soul-gnawing beast's personality. Xiao Xiao raised its little paws and said with a wronged expression. Ooh, why didn't anyone believe it? It was an honest and good child, really. Well, believe you for now. Stop pretending to be pitiful. Master Ning said with an evil smile. With this beautiful half-orc, this little thing might not be the most favored one. Therefore, he was in a very good mood. As long as he thought about how this little thing had been constantly fighting with him for his favor these past few days, his heart would itch with hatred. He wanted to strangle this little fellow to death. I'm not pretending to be pitiful. Xiao Xiao pouted and explained in a low voice. It'd be a wonder if there wasn't. Hurry up and eat. If you don't eat, you'll be hungry later. Master Ning reminded. Arg. I want to eat them, these are all mine. When Xiao Xiao heard this, it immediately jumped off Leng Ruoxue's shoulder and used its tiny claws to gather all the food in front of it. It looked like it was protecting its food and kept using its claws to stuff food into its mouth. Its cheeks were bulging from the food. Seeing this, everyone could not help but laugh. Xiao Xiao, eat slowly. No one's snatching it from you. Leng Ruoxue was a little speechless. Why did this little thing seem to lose its life the moment it saw food? Sigh. How long had it been hungry for? Yes, yes. Xiao Xiao nodded her head, but she had no intention of stopping stuffing food into her mouth. Seeing this, Leng Ruoxue and the others were truly helpless. However, they would not be calculative with a little baby, much less snatch its food. Looking at Xiao Xiao wolfing down the food, and then looking at Ziye's elegant manner as she ate, everyone suddenly felt that they were both beasts, but why was there such a big difference? Reading on Maibo's Snow Vel Com, please. After the meal, Leng Ruoxue decided to set up camp by the small stream Ziyu was in, who asked her to have the thought of abducting this merman. After taking out the house and fixing it on the empty ground, everyone entered. However, Leng Ruoxue saw that Ziyu had not moved and could not help but ask curiously, "Why don't you go in? Do you want to go back into the water?" Can I go in?" Ziyu asked expectantly. He had never thought that Leng Ruoxue would have such a divine weapon in her possession. He was once a human, so he naturally knew that it was not easy to refine a divine weapon that could accommodate a person. However, at this moment, he only thought that Leng Ruoxue was from a large family clan and had come out to train. "Of course you can, come in quickly." Leng Ruoxue chuckled. "Yes, thank you," Ziyu said gratefully. He had been away from human society for too long, so his desire for these things was unimaginable to others. "Ziyu, you don't have to be too polite with us. Let's go. I'll ask Fengde to arrange a room for you." Leng Ruoxue left. "All right," he said. Ziyu nodded, then followed Leng Ruoxue and the demon into the house. After instructing Fengde to arrange a room for Ziyu, Leng Ruoxue pulled the evil demon back to her room. The moment they entered the room, the evil demon immediately pulled Leng Ruoxue into his arms and said with a dissatisfied expression, "I'm jealous." Why are you getting jealous again?" Leng Ruoxue was a little speechless as she tried to recall. She didn't seem to have done anything that she shouldn't have. "You're too focused on that Ziyu, so I'm jealous," the demon said in jealousy. "I didn't don't wrong me." Leng Ruoxue sighed softly and said helplessly, "You still say you don't have it? You even asked Fengde to arrange a room for him personally. He's just a fish. It's enough for him to live in the water. Why does he need to live in a room? It's best if the fish doesn't leave the water." The demon said a little unreasonably. To be honest, I asked Fengde to arrange a room for him because I wanted to make him my subordinate. As for the water, are you suggesting that I should get him a water room?" Leng Ruoxue purposely twisted the demon's words as she laughed evilly. "Don't even think about it." The demon growled in a low voice and hugged Leng Ruoxue even tighter. "Silly girl." Leng Ruoxue touched the demon's head and came to this important conclusion. However, that little fish's aptitude is not bad. Moreover, the beast that inherited the beast bloodline was once very powerful. It's a pity that it went extinct a long time ago. Otherwise, if we could find a female beast, we might be able to reproduce the glory of that race in the past. The demon said again. Chapter 12:22, The Fleeing Rhinoceros, 2. Leng Ruoxue was taken aback. She couldn't understand why the evildoer would be dragged into this. The female? She didn't like to arrange the marriage for her subordinates or beastie. Matters of the heart should be left to nature. It's decided then. We'll help him find a female so that he can restore the glory of his race. The demon said with a proud smile. The more he thought about it, the more he felt that his idea was not bad. After all, he had to kill his future love rival in the cradle. Only then would little Shui be safe. "Demon, let's go to sleep." Leng Ruoxue wiped away the cold sweat on her forehead and changed the topic. "Yes." The demon nodded. Following that, Leng Ruoxue brought the two of them into the bangle. The next morning, Leng Ruoxue and the rest left the room and arrived at the garden. However, they realized that there were already people in the garden. A devastatingly beautiful man was sitting on a chair in the garden, and opposite him, on the stone table, was a furry, snow-white little beast. The little beast's eyes were as black as ink, and they were emitting a hot glow like the sun. Saliva was dripping from the corner of its mouth, wetting the soft fur around its mouth. Seeing this scene, everyone's foreheads could not help but be filled with black lines. They were all deeply speechless. Xiao Xiao actually drooled at Ziyu. However, everyone knew that Xiao Xiao was definitely not mesmerized by Ziyu's beauty. Instead, she had treated the beautiful Ziyu as food. At this moment, Ziyu was also staring at Xiao Xiaoyan with a trace of playfulness in her eyes. She said indifferently, "You really want to eat me?" "Yes, I do." Xiao Xiao was very honest. What use did it have if it wanted to? Its sister wouldn't allow it. Moreover, if it wanted to eat this half-orc, it wouldn't be able to do so without its sister's help. It couldn't defeat this half-orc now, let alone eat him. So, it could only look at him and satisfy its craving. How sad and pitiful it was. You're honest, but you can't eat me now. Ziyu reminded. I know. That's why I'm only looking. I'm not eating. Xiao Xiao's eyes were filled with tears as she said pitifully. You're pretty cute, little thing. Ziyu stretched out her hand and gently stroked the soft fur on Xiao Xiao's body. Don't touch me. I don't like you. Its small body writhed and struggled non-stop. Unfortunately, in Ziyu's eyes, it was just a small child who didn't pose any threat. I do like you. I once had a puppy that was about the same size as you. However, it was killed by my clansman when it tried to save me. Aside from his parents, that little dog was his best friend. Although dog-type beasts had a very low status in the beast realm, they were the easiest to tame in the eyes of humans. Furthermore, they were extremely loyal, unlike some beasts with noble bloodlines who looked down on ordinary humans. Reading on Maibo Snow.com, please. Even after he had become a half-orc, the puppy still stayed by his side and gave him the only warmth. At that time, even his parents had despised him, but his best friend had not. However, his best friend had been mercilessly killed by his own clansman. However, he could not avenge his friend. This was his greatest regret. Sometimes, he even felt that he was too useless. Unfortunately, he was too weak. Moreover, his identity in the divine world would be condemned by everyone. If Beastie found him, it would not let him go either. He was not afraid of death, but he wanted to avenge his friend. Therefore, he had to keep his life. Damn it, I'm not a dog. When Xiao Xiao heard that he was being mistaken for a dog again, he couldn't help but roar angrily. Then, he opened his small mouth and bit Yes' finger fiercely. Immediately, blood flowed out along the teeth marks he made. Have you sucked enough? You little vampire. Ziyu said in a pampering tone. Not only did this little thing bite him, but it had also sucked his blood. His blood wasn't that easy to suck, and he couldn't help but think to himself with some evil intentions. Your blood is quite delicious. Xiao Xiao let go of her mouth and licked her lips as if she had not had enough. However, why did it feel dizzy? Could it be that it got drunk after drinking some blood? After she finished speaking, Xiao Xiao swayed her little body, lowered her head with a plop, and fell asleep. What's wrong with Xiao Xiao? Seeing that Xiao Xiao had fainted, Leng Ruoxue and the rest walked over and could not help but ask curiously. It drank my blood. Ziyu explained with a faint smile. Does your blood have a hypnotic effect? Leng Ruoxue asked in shock. She had seen from afar that Xiao Xiao was still alive and kicking. It had only been a short while, and she had actually fallen asleep. It was truly unbelievable. Almost. However, after this little thing awakens, it shouldn't have any more enmity towards me. Ziyu said with a mysterious smile. Oh, then you're safe. Leng Ruoxue laughed evilly and thought to herself, did Ziyu intentionally get Xiao Xiao to bite me? When Xiao Xiao slowly woke up and saw Ziyu again, she was indeed much closer to him. Moreover, she stuck to Ziyu all day long, making everyone extremely puzzled. They all wondered in their hearts, could it be that eating a little of his blood was so useful? After staying here for a few days, Ziyu had become familiar with everyone. Sometimes, she would even take the initiative to chat with them. Moreover, the feeling of being with them made Ziyu feel very comfortable. One must know that even in the past, when he was in the family, he had never been so relaxed. However, after knowing that they would leave here tomorrow, his mood became low. Do you guys have to leave tomorrow? Ziyu said, full of reluctance. We've been staying here for a few days, and would like to go to other places. Besides, we're not far from here. If you miss us, you can come to us. Leng Ruoxue chuckled, obviously playing hard to get. Fengde and the others also said that they welcomed him as a guest, and no one suggested for him to join their team. Oh. Ziyu nodded, feeling very conflicted in his heart. In fact, he really wanted to leave with them. For so many years, he had never met anyone who didn't reject him. He also wanted to have friends, but ever since his bloodline returned to its ancestor, this kind of thought had become an extravagant hope. However, none of them had said that they wanted him to leave with them, so he was embarrassed to ask. He was afraid that they would reject him. Chapter 12:23, The Fleeing Rhinoceros. 3. Looking at Ziyu's conflicted expression, Leng Ruoxue knew that this fellow was tempted. Hence, she decided to strike while the iron was hot. Actually, if you're willing, you can leave with us. After all, you're quite lonely here. Leng Ruoxue chuckled. Aren't you afraid of being implicated by me? Ziyu was a little hesitant. It was good to be with them, but once he thought of his identity, he couldn't leave with them so easily, although he really wanted to. What's there to be afraid of? Whoever dares to provoke us is courting death. Fengde said loudly. That's right, Ziyu. Don't be afraid. I will protect you. Suizhu patted her chest and promised. I'm just afraid that you'll be implicated by me. Since you're not afraid, I'll go with you. Ziyu said very seriously. Okay, let's go then. By the way, go and pack your things. We'll wait for you outside. Leng Ruoxue said after some thought. When she said outside, she was naturally referring to outside the house. I don't have anything to pack, Ziyu said, a little embarrassed. He had only been cultivating and sleeping, so he had not saved anything. Then let's just go. Leng Ruoxue said. After everyone had left the house, she kept the house and everyone left the place, heading towards the second place that Xiao Xiao had sensed danger from. The second location wasn't far from here, so they arrived in less than an hour. Leng Ruoxue was speechless as she looked at the desolate land in front of her. Why was this place so different from the place where Ziyu had stayed previously? If the place where Ziyu lived was a scenic spot with picturesque scenery, then this place was a desolate desert. Miss, this place. Fengde looked at the bare yellow land in front of him and did not know what to say. He never knew that there would be a barren land in the forest. This was truly unbelievable. There isn't even a tree here. Are there any beasts living here? Lu Tao's face was also filled with curiosity. At this moment, not even a blade of grass could be found in front of them. She could not believe that any beastie would be willing to stay here. There are. Ziyu nodded. He didn't expect that they would actually come here. If it wasn't necessary, he wouldn't be willing to come here. You know about it? Fengde's face was full of surprise. However, after thinking about it, he didn't find it strange anymore. After all, Ziyu had lived in this forest for many years. It was normal for her to know some beasts. Reading on Maibo Snow Velcom, please. I've once fought with the beastie that lives here. That beastie is very strong. As for what kind of strength it has now, I'm not very sure. Ziyu said with a frown. He had fought with that beastie many years ago. At that time, he had won with great difficulty. After that, they had not met again. What kind of beastie is it? Leng Ruoxue asked curiously. It was a giant rhinoceros. At that time, its strength was comparable to mine, but its defense was very high. So, we fought very hard and I won with great difficulty. Ziyu explained. Oh. Leng Ruoxue finally understood. Miss, since there's only one giant rhinoceros here, do we still want to go in? Fengde could not help but ask. Of course, we have to let it know who the real owner of this place is. I don't want any beasts to cause any trouble in my territory. Leng Ruoxue said with a faint smile. She was trying to get the rhinoceros to behave. After all, a rhinoceros had a very short temper. However, she didn't intend to kill the rhinoceros. Miss, let's go in then. Fengde laughed evilly. He loved to teach people and beasts a lesson. Yes. Leng Ruoxue nodded. Following that, the group headed towards the giant rhinoceros, lair. Lung Ruoxue and the rest walked past the barren land and came to a cave. According to Ziyu, this should be the lair of the giant rhinoceros. Young miss, this cave seems to be quite old. I don't know if the rhinoceros is still inside. If it's not, then we've come here for nothing. Fengde couldn't help but remind him. Since we're already here, we naturally have to go and take a look. Lung Ruoxue said very seriously. She did not want to make a wasted trip, so since she was here, she had to get to the bottom of this. Then he'll go down and take a look. If that rhinoceros is inside, he'll force it out. Fengde said after thinking for a while. No need to go down, I have a way to force it up. Ziyu stopped Fengde, who was about to jump into the hole. Oh, I'll leave it to you then. After Fengde finished speaking, he gave up his seat. Yes. Ziyu nodded, and then he began to gather water attribute divine power in his hand. When the water attribute divine power in his hand was about the size of a blue ball, he threw the big water ball directly into the hole. This is enough? Fengde asked, a little dumbfounded. He had only thrown a water ball into the cave, and the giant rhinoceros would run up by itself? Yes. Ziyu nodded and then explained, giant rhinos don't care about hygiene, so they hate water the most. As long as they come into contact with water, they'll definitely be furious. Before Ziyu could finish her sentence, everyone heard a deafening roar coming from the entrance of the cave. Damn it, who dares to throw a water ball into this king's cave? Grandpa won't let you off. As soon as the roar ended, everyone saw a black shadow scuttle out of the hole and land in front of them. However, it was not a giant rhinoceros, but a mimicked small rhinoceros. This little rhinoceros body was as black as ink, and it had a pair of large bronze-like eyes. At this moment, it was glaring fiercely at Fengde and the others. However, when its gaze landed on Ziyu, it couldn't help but roar loudly, "So it's you, you dead fish. Why did you bring so many humans to my place? Are you trying to take revenge on me? I was the one who was beaten up last time. Can you be clear about this?" The little rhinoceros was so angry that it was about to explode. It admitted that it had provoked this guy for no reason, but didn't it also learn its lesson? Why did he bring so many people to find trouble with it now? This was too much. How could he let the rhinoceros live? It was getting angrier and angrier, and the more it thought about it, the more pitiful it felt. How could it have such a petty and vengeful neighbor? A bad guy who helped others while helping others. At this time, in the little rhinoceros' heart, it had already used all the words it could think of on Ziyu. Did I say I'm here to take revenge? Ziyu said, a little speechless. This rhinoceros was really too uncultured. It didn't even give them a chance to speak before it started to roar loudly. It was really impolite. Then what are you doing here? You even threw water into my cave. Don't you know that I hate water the most? The little rhinoceros glared at him with its big eyes and roared unhappily. I just wanted to call you up. Otherwise, I wouldn't have just thrown a small water ball. Ziyu reminded. Oh, that's true. The little rhinoceros thought for a moment and felt that Ziyu's words were not without reason. However, it was still very angry because it hated water too much. Water was simply its natural enemy. Then why did you call me up here? Although it was still a little dissatisfied with Ziyu's method of calling it up, it could already calm down a little. I didn't call you, it's my family's young miss. Ziyu pointed at Lung Ruoxue. Ever since he had decided to leave with Lung Ruoxue and the rest, he had considered himself Lung Ruoxue's subordinate. Oh, human, why did you call me up? The little rhinoceros glared at Lung Ruoxue and asked. I just want to inform you that this nightmare forest is now my territory, and you are a resident of my territory. So, you must follow the order of the territory and not do anything that will harm my territory. Lung Ruoxue said directly. Your territory? On what basis? The little rhinoceros understood that the entire forest, including the place it was living in, belonged to the human in front of it. So, this human was here to declare his sovereignty. However, it had lived here for so long, why should it give up its place to a human? No matter how it thought about it, it felt that it was unfair. Just because I'm the master of this place, if you want to continue staying here, then you'd better behave yourself and not cause any trouble. Otherwise, don't blame me for being impolite. Lung Ruoxue warned. I've lived here for so long, but I've never heard of this place having an owner. I won't admit it. The little rhinoceros turned its head and said arrogantly, You don't want to admit? I'll make you admit it. After Lung Ruoxue finished speaking, she gave Feng Da and the rest a look. Feng Da and the rest understood her meaning and immediately surrounded the little rhinoceros, giving it a good beating. By the time the little rhinoceros reacted, its body was already covered in wounds. If it wasn't for its thick skin, it wouldn't have been able to withstand the group of barbarian humans. Feng Da and the others also knew the thickness of the rhinoceros' skin, so they didn't show any mercy. Not long after, the little rhinoceros was beaten until it cried out in pain, You bunch of barbarians, what's the point of ganging up on me? If you have the ability, fight me one-on-one. One-on-one? Do you think we're stupid? I'm going to fight you one-on-one, and you're not dead yet. I'm afraid we'll be exhausted to death. Also, whose grandfather are you? You dare to call yourself a grandfather in front of your father? Who else should I beat up if not you? Feng Da said as he punched. The divine power in his hand gathered in his fist, and he hit the rhinoceros again and again. Arg! I'm angry! The little rhinoceros roared and suddenly disappeared without a trace. Where was the rhinoceros? How did it disappear? Feng Da's face was full of question marks, and his eyes couldn't help but drift to Ziyu. It ran away. Ziyu's forehead was filled with black lines. These people actually forced that arrogant rhinoceros to use its ultimate move. They were really powerful. Moreover, when he saw the miserable state of the rhinoceros, he couldn't help rejoicing. It was fortunate that he hadn't fought with them like this silly rhinoceros. Otherwise, wouldn't the rhinoceros' fate be his? It managed to escape under our tight defense. It seems like it has some ability. Feng Da praised. Beasts basically all have life-saving tricks, and the move that the rhinoceros used just now is one of its own talents. In a situation where it can't beat its opponent, it can be said to have tried and failed time and time again. It once used that move against me. Ziyu said with a light smile. Oh, what should he do now? We actually let that sly rhinoceros escape. We were too careless. Feng Da said in a very vexed manner. Chapter 1224, Rhinoceros Battle, 1. If you run away, you can only force it back up. However, that rhinoceros is very cunning. It knows that it can't beat you, so I'm afraid it won't come up so easily this time. Ziyu said with understanding. Then she threw a few large water balls into the cave. However, there was no reaction at all in the cave. It could be seen how firm the will of the giant rhinoceros was. It had made up its mind not to come up. Fuck, didn't it hate water the most? Why didn't it roll up after so much water was poured down? Feng Da roared in anger. What a cunning creature. Although the rhinoceros looked stupid, he didn't expect it to be so scheming. I quite admire its patience. He's a beastie who can accomplish great things. Lung Ruoxue couldn't help but tease when she saw Feng Da's flustered and exasperated look. Miss, you're still praising it? Fuck, I'll go down and pull it up myself. Feng Da said in anger. After he finished speaking, he was about to jump down again. However, this time, he was pulled back by Lung Ruoxue. What's the hurry? Look at how calm that giant rhinoceros is. You have to learn from it. You can't be so anxious about everything. Lung Ruoxue advised. Oh. Feng Da replied unwillingly, but he hated the giant rhinoceros to death in his heart. When the giant rhinoceros came up, he would beat it up so badly that even its mother wouldn't be able to recognize it. The premise was that it had to have a mother. Miss, what should we do now? That damn rhinoceros is not coming up. Feng Da couldn't help but ask. Continue to fill it with water. There's not enough water now, so of course it won't come up. Lung Ruoxue laughed evilly. Now that there was still space for the giant rhinoceros to live in the underground cave, it was naturally unwilling to come up and throw its life away for the sake of its safety. However, what if it could no longer stay down there? At that time, it would have no choice but to remember. Yes. Under Lung Ruoxue's command, everyone with the water attribute threw water balls into the cave. Not long after, the water in the cave slowly surged up. After throwing water balls for a while, the water had already overflowed the cave and flowed towards the other flat ground. It's almost time, let's stop. Lung Ruashua chuckled and asked Ziyu, is there any other exit in this giant rhinoceros cave? No, this place is surrounded by mountains and hard rocks, so the giant rhinoceros can only come out from here, unless it would rather wait for death than come out. Ziyu said with a smile, but in his heart, he couldn't help but break out in a cold sweat. He was once again shocked by these people's big spending. Oh my God! If it was a giant rhinoceros, and the cave had been filled with so much water, it would have come out to surrender long ago. How could it still hide in the cave? When he thought of this, he was somewhat impressed by the rhinoceros' patience. However, as soon as he finished speaking, he saw a black shadow scuttle out of the hole. It was the flustered and angry black mimicked rhinoceros. The little black rhinoceros was floating in the air, staring at them with its eyes burning with fire. They stared back at it, not to be outdone. Both sides stared at each other for a long time before the little rhinoceros opened its mouth angrily and said, "Despicable humans, you actually destroyed Grandpa's home. You really deserve to die. I won't let you off." With that, the little black rhinoceros suddenly grew to the size of a small mountain before it stopped growing. When Feng Da and the others saw this, they couldn't help but laugh. I say, little rhino, do you think that your mimicry appearance is too small and not enough for us to beat up, so you want to make it bigger so that it's more convenient for us to attack? You're so considerate. Reading on Maibo Xen Vel.com, please. It is. You're such a considerate beastie, well, definitely love you well. Everyone spoke at once, angering the giant rhinoceros that was floating in the air. Detestable. How detestable. Grandpa is so angry. I'm going to kill you all. The giant rhinoceros roared in anger. After that, it swooped down from the sky and attacked Feng Da and the others. However, Feng Da and the others were not in a hurry. They just casually added a layer of defense in front of them and waited for the giant rhinoceros to walk into the trap. After the giant rhinoceros landed from the sky, it swept its huge, thick tail, trying to sweep Feng Da and the others away. However, it did not expect to hit nothing, which made it even more angry. Cunning humans, don't hide if you have the guts. The giant rhinoceros roared in anger. Little rhinoceros, you're wrong. You're clearly only allowing the state officials to light the lamps, not allowing the commoners to set them on fire. You can use your talent to escape, but we can't hide. What kind of logic is this? Feng Da retorted sarcastically with a look of disdain on his face. However, his words made the giant rhinoceros furious, and all the new and old grudges surged up. Is that the same? I only have myself, but you have so many people. If I didn't run, I would have been beaten into meat paste by you. Fight me one-on-one if you dare. The giant rhinoceros provoked. We'll have a one-on-one just because you said so. That would be so embarrassing for me and also little rhinoceros. If you still call yourself Grandpa, he'll beat you up until your grandpa can't recognize you. Feng Da warned. You dare. If you have the ability, come and beat me up. I'm not afraid of you. The giant rhinoceros said stubbornly, its bull-like temper rising. You're the one who asked us to beat you up, so don't cry. Feng Da said with a smirk. Then he gave his brothers a look, and everyone understood and attacked the giant rhinoceros. Feng Da and the others divided the work and worked together, attacking from top to bottom. Fists and divine skills flew out at the same time, all of which smashed into the giant rhinoceros' body, causing it to cry out in pain again. Despicable humans, you dare to gang up on me again. How detestable! The giant rhinoceros cried out in pain, but unfortunately, no one paid any attention to it, much less felt any heartache. Did we say we wouldn't gang up on you? We are one entity, and there is no distinction between us. Therefore, we will naturally share our blessings, our difficulties, and our fights. Feng Da explained with a smile. That's right. Chengwu also laughed out loud. The divine skill in his hands smashed towards the giant rhinoceros as if he didn't care about his life. As he smashed, he didn't forget to stuff medicinal pills into his mouth to replenish the divine power he had used up. It couldn't be helped. This giant rhinoceros' skin was too thick. They had to fight a long battle. The master of the Ning family and the great elder, who were watching the battle from the side, could not help but feel embarrassed when they saw Feng De and the others' shameless fighting style. They thought to themselves, a fight can actually be fought like this, sigh. Why are these little rascals so wasteful? They had lived for so long, but they had never seen anyone force medicinal pills into their mouths while fighting. What a prodigal! Chapter 12:25. Rhinoceros Battle 2. When other people were fighting, it was not bad to be able to eat a medicinal pill to replenish their divine power. But they threw large amounts into their mouths. It really made people envious, jealous, and hateful. And those who had similar thoughts as them naturally included Ziyu, who had opened his eyes. He had lived for so long, but he had never seen anyone eat medicinal pills in this way. Could it be that medicinal pills in the immortal realm were not worth much now? Actually, this was mainly because he had not been with Leng Ruoxue and the rest for long. Hence, he naturally did not know that Leng Ruoxue's subordinates and the beasts would eat pills for fun when they had nothing to do because they tasted pretty good. As for Lu Feng, Mo Yen, and the others, they were much calmer, because in their eyes, whatever these people did was normal. Even if other people thought that it was incredible, it was normal for them to do it. When Bing Yao saw this, he praised Feng De and the others, and he couldn't help but cheer for them. Hee hee. Come on boys, don't embarrass your miss and me. Beat this little rhinoceros to the ground, woo. The rhinoceros skin is quite good for making armor. Despicable humans, you actually want to use Grandpa's skin to make armor. Grandpa is really angry. I'm angry. When the giant rhinoceros heard Bing Yao's words, it couldn't care less about the pain and couldn't help but roar. You're angry? So you weren't angry before. Bing Yao said in realization. Little rhinoceros, show me your anger. I've never seen an angry rhinoceros before. Bing Yao urged. After that, he took out a piece of red cloth from somewhere and spread it in front of him. Come quickly. I have your favorite red color. Come on. Come quickly. Bing Yao continued to urge him and got into position, ready for the bullfight. When Leng Ruoxue saw her senior brother's actions, beads of sweat started to fall from her forehead. She thought to herself, could it be that senior brother has been to my previous world? Otherwise, how would he know to use red cloth to fight bulls? However, not all bulls like to be beaten, right? Moreover, she had never heard of anyone using a red cloth to fight a rhinoceros. That was a rhinoceros, okay? Bing Yao is quite funny. The demon at the side couldn't help but laugh when he saw this. Yup. Leng Ruoxue wiped away the cold sweat on her forehead and said helplessly. This was not the first time she had seen her senior brother's antics. Just as Leng Ruoxue finished her sentence, the furious giant rhinoceros only said 2 words, detestable. He found a chance to pass Feng De and the others and pounced on Bing Yao. However, it naturally ended up pouncing on nothing. Bing Yao turned around elegantly, then shook the red flag in his hand at the giant rhinoceros. Little rhinoceros, come on. I have faith in you. Reading on Maibo Xen Vel.com, please. Detestable. The giant rhinoceros' nostrils were exhaling white air as it continuously kicked the ground with its huge hooves. The whoosh sound was heard. Then he charged towards Bing Yao, but he missed again. Damn human, don't hide if you have the guts. The giant rhinoceros saw that it had missed its target twice, and the anger in its heart began to rise. In addition, Feng De and the others were staring at it from the side, which made it feel even more pressured. Its innate life-saving skill could not be used frequently, so it could only fight them head-on now. Fortunately, its skin was rough and thick. Otherwise, if it were any other beast, it would have been tortured to death by them long ago. These abominable humans, abominable humans. It couldn't help but curse in its heart. Little rhinoceros. Do you know the rules? If I don't dodge, can I still be called a bullfight? Bullfighting, bullfighting. The one I'm fighting is naturally you. If I were to be beaten by you, wouldn't I become a laughingstock? Bing Yao laughed evilly. Bullfight? Damn it, you actually think him a bull? Detestable. The giant rhinoceros' bell-like eyes narrowed in anger. The two streams of white gas that came out of its nostrils became even more intense. This also meant that it was even more furious. You've always been awesome, Bing Yao said angrily. I'm not a bull. The giant rhinoceros roared in anger. In order to prove that it was different from the other bulls, it charged towards Bing Yao again. Bing Yao laughed to himself. This silly rhinoceros, you still dare to say that you're not a bull? If you're not a bull, then why are you always running to my side? I don't have any grass for you to eat. Just like that, the giant rhinoceros charged at Bing Yao again and again. Although it failed every time, it was not discouraged. It worked hard with an indomitable spirit until it was too tired to run anymore. However, when it lay on the ground and panted heavily, its big eyes were still staring at Bing Yao fiercely. Now, its hatred for this man who was as pretty as a gigolo had surpassed Feng Da and the others. Bing Yao saw that the giant rhinoceros was so tired that it fell to the ground, and consoled it considerately, "Little rhinoceros, rest well. Don't be in a hurry to get up. I will wait for you." Oomph. The giant rhinoceros turned its head and decided not to look at it anymore. Otherwise, it would become the first rhinoceros in the godly mainland to be angered to death. It didn't want to become a huge disgrace to the rhinoceros clan. "Little rhinoceros, don't ignore me. Come be good. Talk to me." Bing Yao saw the giant rhinoceros turn its head and couldn't help but smile and open his mouth to coax. However, his words did not receive any response. Feng Da and the others were all speechless, but they still admired Bing Yao. As expected of her Miss Senior brother. They had been beating it up for so long, but they hadn't been able to cause much damage to the little rhinoceros. However, Bing Yao just took out a piece of red cloth and shook it a few times, and the silly rhinoceros was so tired that it fell to the ground. It was unbelievable. In fact, what they didn't know was that the rhinoceros was tired, but more than that, it was angry. It was both tired and angry, so the rhinoceros fell. "Little rhinoceros, quickly get up and continue playing with me. It's rare for me to see a bull, so you can't disappoint me. Little rhinoceros, don't be lazy, quickly get up. Otherwise, it'll kill all the female rhinos in the forest and make sure you can't find a wife. Little rhinoceros, quickly get up. If you continue to be lazy, it'll make sure you can't be a male beast. Let's see how you're going to carry on the family line after I kill you." Chapter 12:26, Battle of the Rhinoceros. 3. Bing Yao saw that the rhinoceros was ignoring him, so he had to coax and threaten it. However, he had already told it that it would not be able to find a wife, and he even said that he would kill it. The rhinoceros was still playing dead, which made him a little angry. When everyone heard what Bing Yao said, cold sweat started to drip down from their foreheads. They thought to themselves, "Strong. What a strong man. Looking at this immortal-like man, how could he say such evil words?" This was truly too inconceivable. Could this be the so-called, "you can't judge a book by its cover"? In fact, the giant rhinoceros on the ground did not want to ignore Bing Yao, but it was so angry that it could not speak. It was known that a beast like it cared the most about the mother beast and the continuation of its family line. However, this despicable man in front of it wanted to take away both of them. It was really unbearable, but it could not beat him. What should it do? The giant rhinoceros kept thinking and thinking in its heart, but it still couldn't think of a good way to deal with this man. So, at this time, it was quite depressed. After thinking for a long time, the giant rhinoceros' strength had almost recovered. It opened its eyes and saw that everyone had found a place to sit down and rest. No one was paying attention to it, so it wanted to sneak away. It couldn't beat these people, but it should be fine to leave this place, right? Although it had lived here for a long time and had deep feelings for this place, it was still outnumbered. If it continued to stay here, it might be killed by that hateful man. This was the thing it cared about the most, so for the sake of its descendants, it should leave as soon as possible. At the same time, the giant rhinoceros had already started to move. It was quietly crawling on the ground, crawling and crawling. When it felt that it had crawled far away, it stood up from the ground and prepared to escape. However, its every move was seen by everyone, and when they saw the hill-like behemoth moving on the ground, they did not remind it that it was too big for it to sneak away. Instead, they watched as the smiling giant rhinoceros rubbed against the ground like a snail. "Young miss, when do we take action? This self-conceited little rhinoceros is about to escape." Feng De was speechless as he looked at the rhino's clumsy movements. He didn't know what to say. He had never seen anyone who wanted to escape and still maintained such a huge body. It was impossible for people not to notice it in this state. He was really helpless. Could he say that this little rhinoceros was smart for a while, but confused for a lifetime? Don't worry, let it crawl for a while. Aren't you touched to see it so careful? Lung Ruoshua chuckled and teased, This rhinoceros was really too funny. She really didn't know how it thought of this. She looked at this little rhinoceros' actions and almost laughed in her heart. Don't worry, it won't be able to run away. I'll know that everything it has done has been in vain. Bing Yao said mysteriously. He was happy to see the little rhino run away. Seeing that they were so confident, Feng De was happy to continue watching the show. He believed that the young lady would not let the little rhinoceros run away. The little giant rhinoceros sneakily crawled for a while, thinking that its actions were very secretive and that no one had noticed it. It was secretly happy in its heart, but suddenly it felt as if it had hit something. It raised its head and found that there was a thin, almost transparent film in front of it. It stretched out a fingernail and poked it. The film was very elastic and couldn't be broken no matter what. What the hell was this? How could it be like this? The little rhinoceros wanted to cry but had no tears. It was very unwilling in its heart. Could it be that everything it had done had been in vain? It had crawled so far with great difficulty, and it definitely couldn't give up halfway. It had to leave this place and stay far away from these terrifying demons. While he was thinking, the giant little rhinoceros used the horn on its head to hit the film, but the film did not break at all, not even a ripple was left. However, the little rhinoceros would not give up easily. It used the horn on its head to hit the film again and again. After a long time, the transparent film was still intact. Seeing this result, the giant small rhinoceros was furious. Fuck, those humans bullied it, and this thin film also bullied it. It's really too hateful. It didn't believe that it couldn't break this damn thing. The little rhinoceros was furious. The consequences were very serious. It gathered all its strength into its horn and then rushed towards the thin film. Reading on Maibo XNO Velcom, please. The membrane in front of the little rhino was extremely elastic and extremely tough. The little rhino's momentum was completely reflected back, and with a loud, dong sound, the little rhino that had been reflected back fell heavily to the ground. How pitiful! How painful is this? Sueju couldn't help but click her tongue when she heard the loud noise. However, she quite admired the patience of the little rhinoceros. If it were her, she would have turned around and left. It's fine. Its skin is thick, so it won't be damaged. Lin Yuan, who was at the side, said with a smile. Miss, when are we going to see it? Feng De also asked. I'm waiting. Lung Ruoshua said with a smile. All right, he said. Feng De nodded, and the crowd continued to watch the show. The giant little rhinoceros was more stubborn than they had thought. After its first attempt failed, it quickly got up from the ground and continued to attack. From this, it could be seen how determined it was to escape. However, the more it wanted to escape, the more it couldn't. The thin film seemed to be deliberately going against it. No matter how much strength it used, it couldn't break it. Half a day's time passed by very quickly. Lung Ruoshue and the rest had seen enough of the fun, so everyone started to prepare lunch. The giant little rhinoceros, who was still struggling with the transparent film, felt even more hungry after smelling the fragrance of the food. Its stomach also growled. It knew that it was hungry. The giant little rhinoceros, who was as tired as a dead dog, turned its head when it smelled the fragrance of the food. It just happened to see the humans that it hated so much eating and drinking, and it was even angrier. These abominable humans were actually eating. It was still hungry. How could they? The more the little rhinoceros thought about it, the more it felt that it wasn't right. It was so impulsive that it strode over to Lung Ruoxue and the others with its 4 pillar-like thick legs. At this moment, it had even forgotten its original intention, and it didn't even remember that it wanted to escape. Despicable humans, how can you eat in front of your grandpa? He was really too evil. I'm confiscating the food now. The giant rhinoceros had forgotten its fear and its goal. In its eyes, there was only the hot and fragrant food. In its heart, it was constantly shouting, "I want to eat. Why can't we eat in front of you? Aren't you planning to escape? You still care if we eat or not?" Lung Ruoxue teased. This rhinoceros was really interesting. Why was it so naive? How did you know that I was trying to escape? The giant little rhinoceros was shocked and quickly asked, "Could it be that my thoughts have been discovered by them? That's impossible, right? It thought it had done it flawlessly, so how could it have been discovered? These cunning humans must be trying to trick it, they must be." It couldn't help but think that it was self-righteous. "Weren't you trying to escape just now?" Lung Ruoxue chuckled as she asked. "No, of course not. Why would I run away? You've misunderstood me." The little rhinoceros quickly denied it. "Even if you beat it to death, it would not admit it. It'll never admit it. Then you committed suicide just now?" Lung Ruoxue's beautiful face was filled with question marks. "My head is a little itchy," the little rhinoceros said blindly. It looked like they really saw it. What should they do? It seemed that it could only deny it. "Itchy head? Do you need my help?" Lung Ruoxue asked with a smile that was not a smile. That beautiful smile on her face caused a chill to run down the little rhinoceros' spine. Bad guy. Scoundrel. He was scaring it again. Although it was a little afraid of these humans, it was not scared. The little rhinoceros thought to itself with a backbone. However, the words that it blurted out did not have any backbone at all. No need. I can handle it myself. You just have to give me the food now. I'm confiscating it. The little rhinoceros' words were soft at first, but the more it spoke, the more stubborn it became. Perhaps it was because it was too hungry, it couldn't care about anything else. In any case, at this time, there was only the fragrant food in its eyes. Confiscate it? But if we give it to you just because you want it, then we'll lose face. Lung Ruoxue said, amused. This is my territory. If you eat on my territory, I have every reason to confiscate it. The little rhinoceros thought for a long time before it said, thinking that it had sufficient reason. Eating on its territory and craving it, it was really detestable. Little rhinoceros, do you still remember that I told you before that this entire forest, including the 3 mountains around it, now belongs to me? So, we're not on your territory, but mine. So, from now on, you have to listen to us. Lung Ruoxue reminded him with a smile. On what basis? I'm the king of this mountain, and I've always been the one in charge here. The little rhinoceros roared. It had been king and lord here for many years and no one had dared to find trouble with it. Now, this human was actually telling it to listen to her. This was absolutely not allowed. I'm in charge now. If you're still not convinced, then we'll settle it with force. Lung Ruoxue laughed evilly. Force? Good. Martial strength is fine, but you can't fight in a group. I request a one-on-one fight. I want him to fight me one-on-one. The little rhinoceros raised its huge hoof and pointed at the immortal-like Bing Yao. This hateful man had treated it like a bull for so long. If it didn't take revenge, it wouldn't be a rhinoceros. It swore to avenge the rhinoceros clan. Seeing the little rhino's choice, everyone's expression was very strange. They didn't know what to say. Poor little rhinoceros. You didn't use this little trick in the right place. He actually chose the strongest one among them. Wasn't this clearly looking for a beating? Moreover, this person was its own choice. If it lost, it wouldn't dare to go back on its word, right? Everyone secretly sighed to themselves. Are you sure you want to have a one-on-one fight with me? Bing Yao looked at the proud little rhino in surprise and confirmed. Chapter 1227, Terrifying Plant, 1. Of course, I, your grandfather, want to fight you one-on-one, the little giant rhinoceros said arrogantly. It also wanted to fight this hateful man like how he had fought it just now. It wanted to let him have a taste of its power. AI. Since you insist, then he'll have to respectfully comply. However, what if you lose? Bing Yao asked with a helpless smile. I won't lose. The giant rhinoceros said confidently. It was a fourth-class sacred beast, and the detestable man in front of it was a high-level divine being, which was about the same as it. However, its defense was extremely abnormal, so it was very confident that it could defeat this pretty boy. However, when it really fought with Bing Yao, it realized that it had made a huge mistake. I like confident men or male beasts. Come. Little rhino, I won't let you down. Bing Yao smiled and walked out from the crowd. The man and beast stood face to face. Bing Yao and the giant little rhino stared at each other. Then, he took out the red cloth and spread it in front of him. The little rhino was furious when it saw the red cloth. Damn it, who asked you to take out that cloth again? Quickly put it away. Don't let this grandpa see it again. The giant rhinoceros roared angrily. Its eyes as big as copper bells were wide open, and white gas was constantly coming out of its nostrils. Didn't you want to fight me one-on-one? This is my weapon. Do you want me to fight you empty-handed? Bing Yao smirked and asked calmly. Change your weapon, I don't want to see that thing. The little rhinoceros' eyes were burning with fire as it roared. I'm sorry, I only have this one weapon. Bing Yao shrugged his shoulders and said innocently. The little rhinoceros was so angry that it couldn't speak. More and more white gas came out of its nostrils. It was obvious that its anger had already risen. Then what? Little rhinoceros. Come quickly, I'm waiting for you here. Bing Yao shook the red cloth in his hand and said to the little rhinoceros provocatively. The little rhinoceros looked at the sea of red in front of it, and the blood in its body was completely stimulated. It hated red the most. I won't let you off. At this time, the little rhinoceros' heart was completely occupied by red, and it couldn't think of anything else. The heat wave in its brain was also getting more and more, churning in its mind. In an instant, everyone saw the huge little rhinoceros flying towards Bing Yao like an arrow. Bing Yao calmly shook the red cloth in his hand and did an elegant turn to avoid the collision of the giant little rhinoceros. Hiss! The little rhinoceros stopped its huge hooves and turned around to fly towards Bing Yao. Its huge hooves stirred up a cloud of dust on the ground. In the blink of an eye, everyone was covered in the dust. Reading on Maibo XNO Velcom, please. Cough cough. Everyone coughed a few times and quickly covered their mouths and noses to prevent themselves from inhaling too much dust. When the dust slowly dispersed, everyone released their hands from covering their mouths and noses and began to complain in unison. Damn little rhinoceros, you've gone too far. You actually want to choke us to death. Lin Yuan was the first to speak indignantly. That's right, it must have done it on purpose. Feng De also agreed. Miss, let's not let it go. Let's skin it and make armor for each of us. Feng De suggested. Their voices were extremely loud, as if they were afraid that the angry little rhino couldn't hear them. I feel that this little rhinoceros is a good guard. With it guarding our door, those who don't have eyes won't dare to come and cause trouble. Leng Ruoxue played along. This little rhinoceros has quite a variety of uses, so let it look after our home first. When it's old, we'll skin it and make armor for us. Naturally, we will sell it. Young lady, what do you think of this arrangement? After Feng De heard Leng Ruoxue's words, he pondered for a moment before speaking again. Yes, it's decided then. Leng Ruoxue agreed with a smirk. Their conversation naturally entered the little rhinoceros' ears without missing a word. The little rhinoceros, who was on the verge of collapse from the stimulation of red, heard their words again. The anger in its heart multiplied. In the blink of an eye, the original dark skin was faintly overflowing with red. It could be seen how angry it was. However, it vented all its anger on Bing Yao. It was all this detestable pretty boy's fault. Otherwise, how could it have the opportunity to be humiliated by these hateful humans? The little rhinoceros was filled with hatred. At the same time, it gathered all its power into its head and charged towards Bing Yao. When Bing Yao saw the little rhino running towards him like a madman, a beautiful smile appeared on his face. He jumped up and dodged the attack. The little rhinoceros did not want to miss its attack, so it kicked another huge leg towards Bing Yao. Bing Yao saw it and grabbed the huge hoof with his hand. This hoof is quite fat. It should be delicious. Bing Yao concluded after some observation. Damn human, let go of my foot. The three-legged little rhinoceros roared in anger. Woo, it doesn't feel good to be unable to maintain balance. Damn human, I won't let him off. You were the one who sent your foot here, I thought you gave it to me. How can you make it taste good? Bing Yao frowned and said with a conflicted expression. Despicable humans. That detestable pretty boy. The little rhinoceros struggled with all its might, trying to pull its feet out of Bing Yao's hands. When Leng Ruoxue and the rest heard the words, pretty boy, come out of the little rhino's mouth, they knew that this was bad news. This little rhino was definitely going to be in trouble because no man would like to hear these words. When they thought of this, they couldn't help but look at the little rhino with pity. When Bing Yao heard the little rhino's words, his expression remained the same, but his eyes became even deeper. A beautiful smile hung on his face as he asked softly, "Did you just call me a pretty boy?" "That's right. It's me, your grandfather, who said it. You pretty boy, let go of my foot." The furious little rhinoceros didn't sense the approaching danger and still shouted. Chapter 12:28, Terrifying Plant 2. Good. As you wish. I'm letting go. After he finished speaking, he waved his hand and the little rhino's mountain-like body fell back. With a loud dong sound, the little rhino fell on its back. Its four legs were as strong as pillars, and it kept kicking. However, looking at the way it was moving, it would not be able to get up without help. Detestable. He's really too detestable. The little rhinoceros lay on the ground as steady as Mount Tai, its mouth still cursing nonstop. Little rhinoceros, you're really too rude. I've already let you go, how can you still curse people? Bing Yao said unhappily. Then, he raised his hand and an ice skill flew out from his hand, sealing the little rhino's mouth. Ooh! The little rhinoceros felt a cold sensation on its mouth, but it couldn't say anything. It could only stare at Bing Yao with its big eyes. Little rhinoceros, this is your punishment for scolding me. Bing Yao laughed. Then, he released a gust of wind from his hand, and the little rhino that was lying on the ground was lifted up. After a somersault, it landed firmly on all four limbs. It finally didn't have to lie on the ground with its four legs up. After the little rhinoceros got up, its mouth was still tightly sealed in ice. It wanted to use its hooves to push the ice away, but it found that its hooves were a little too big to reach its mouth. This made it depressed. Damn human, you don't dare to fight with me with real weapons, so you use these little tricks. You're too despicable. It couldn't help but curse in its heart. Ooh! The little rhino barked at Bing Yao, telling him to let go of her. Seeing this, Bing Yao hit the little rhino's mouth with another red skill. The ice melted in an instant, but the red skill burned the little rhino's mouth again. It was so painful that it cried out. Arg! It hurts! It hurts! Damned human, you're doing this on purpose? The little rhinoceros stomped its feet in pain, but it couldn't help but roar angrily. I did it on purpose, what can you do to me? Bing Yao said with a calm smile. Damn it, do you dare to fight me with real weapons? Don't use those little tricks anymore? The little rhinoceros asked loudly. Little rhinoceros, you must not have heard that all is fair in war. What was a real sword and spear? What could be considered a small trick? In a battle, as long as you can win, you can use any means. You can't blame anyone. Bing Yao said with a look of disdain. Then, do you dare to do it for real with me? The little rhinoceros asked with its eyes wide open. Little rhinoceros, I was just playing with you, but since you want to fight me seriously, Then I'll fulfill your wish. Bing Yao chuckled. Good. Pretty boy. Little one, prepare to die. The little rhinoceros roared and charged towards Bing Yao again. Reading on Maibo XNO Velcom, please. In fact, the rhinoceros fighting methods were very limited. They were not good at skill attacks. They liked to use physical collisions, relying on their tyrannical bodies and super strong defense to wear down the enemy. This was the most common method of the rhinoceros clan, and often the most effective method. However, it was a pity. If it was someone else, this attack might have worked, but it was against Bing Yao, a man that even the master of the Ning family couldn't do anything to. Would he care about a little rhinoceros? Facing the attacks of the little rhino, Bing Yao only dodged left and right, and the little rhino was already exhausted. Damn it, don't just hide, all right? Seeing that its attack was ineffective against the man in front of it, the little rhinoceros became even angrier. I want dodge. If I'm hit by you, I won't be able to keep my little life. Do you think I'm stupid? Bing Yao said with a smile. If you keep dodging like this, how long are we going to fight? The little rhinoceros was very depressed. Damn it, it couldn't even touch the corner of this man's clothes, but it had already exhausted itself to death. When you're exhausted and you admit defeat, I'll win. Bing Yao said angrily. Good. Just you wait. The little rhino couldn't take it anymore. It raised its giant hooves and stomped on the ground twice, then gathered its strength and charged towards Bing Yao. Little rhinoceros, your attack is too simple. Do you know anything else other than crashing into people? Bing Yao looked at the little rhinoceros and said unhappily, this is our rhinoceros clan's most effective attack method. If it wasn't to deal with you, I wouldn't have used my full strength. So, you should feel deeply honored. The little rhinoceros said with an arrogant look. Oh, then I have to thank you. This time, Bing Yao didn't dodge. Instead, he put one of his hands on the rhino's horn and blocked the attack with his bare hands. Little rhinoceros, I didn't dodge this time. You can't do anything to me either, can you? Bing Yao asked with a smile. Despicable human. Quickly take your hand away. The little rhinoceros horn was grabbed by someone, and it was like its entire body was being controlled, making it very uncomfortable. Are you sure you want me to take my hand off? Bing Yao asked. Quickly take it away. The little rhinoceros roared. Good. I'm taking it away. After Bing Yao finished speaking, he let go of the rhino's hand. Everyone saw the rhino jump into the air and flip a few times in the air. Then, it landed heavily on the ground with its head facing down. The ground was hit by the rhino's huge body, and it created a deep pit. Everyone's forehead was full of black lines. They walked to the deep pit and looked down. They saw the little rhinoceros' round big buttocks exposed outside, and most of its body was buried in the soil. After a long time, the little rhinoceros, half buried in the soil, was still motionless. He's dead? AI. What a pity. I originally wanted to let it guard our house. Feng De's face was full of regret. However, it's good that they're dead. At least we have something to buy our armors. Lin Yuan also said. Its body is so huge. I think its meat can be sold for a lot of money. Cui Zhu said like a little money grubber. Yes, miss, when are we going to get it out? Feng De asked, his face full of anticipation. Chapter 1229, A Terrifying Plant, 3. Don't worry, make sure it's dead. Can't you see it's but is still shaking? Leng Ruoxue laughed as she spoke. She was filled with sympathy for this unlucky rhinoceros. Why did it find its senior brother who liked to play pranks? Miss, let me help it. After Feng De finished speaking, he took out a dagger from his storage ring, aimed at the right position, and threw it at the little rhinoceros' round butt. With a poochy sound, the dagger pierced into the flesh. The little rhinoceros, which was half buried in the ground, actually struggled out from the ground due to the intense pain. However, its body and head were covered in dust, leaving only a pair of big eyes that were as big as copper bells staring at Leng Ruoxue and the rest. Miss, has it been knocked silly? Seeing that the little rhinoceros didn't speak for a long time, Lu Tao couldn't help but ask curiously. In her eyes, this little rhinoceros was a chatterbox. It was really abnormal for it to not speak for so long. "You're the silly one. Your whole family is dumbfounded." Hearing Green Peach's words, the little rhinoceros finally reacted and roared angrily. "Little rhinoceros, didn't your mother teach you that trouble comes from the mouth?" Lung Ruoxue asked with a faint smile. What a little fellow who couldn't see the situation clearly. Fortunately, it had met them. Otherwise, if it had been someone else, it would have become someone else's lunch. "I don't have a mother," the little rhinoceros said viciously. After that, it turned its eyes to its biggest enemy, Bing Yao, and roared, "Damn human pretty boy, you can't bully our rhinoceros clan like this." "Then what do you want me to do?" "I'll give you one more chance," Bing Yao said helplessly. He reached out and pulled the huge rhino out of the pit and threw it on the ground. The little rhinoceros got up from the ground and glared at Bing Yao before attacking again. But this time, Bing Yao didn't want to play with it anymore. It was going to be dark if he continued playing, so he had to make this stubborn little guy convinced. With that in mind, Bing Yao threw out both of his fists and hit the little rhino's body. The little rhino cried out in pain. Not long after, the rhino's thick skin was covered in blood and its horn was broken into two. After a long time, looking at the dying little rhinoceros on the ground, Bing Yao smiled and walked in front of it. He squatted down and asked, "Little rhinoceros, are you convinced now? Do you want to continue?" "No, I don't want to. You're a pervert." Although the little rhinoceros was unwilling, it was indeed not this pretty boy's opponent. Woo! How could this pretty boy be so powerful? It had really misjudged. At this moment, it was so regretful that its intestines had turned green. "You're calling me a pervert?" Bing Yao squinted his eyes, clearly unhappy. In fact, he felt wronged. He had only beaten the little rhinoceros a few times. How did it become a pervert? The real pervert was Lung Ruoxue, okay? Reading on Maibo XNO Vel.com, please. No, it wasn't it. I mean, you're too amazing. The little rhinoceros quickly changed its words, its little heart trembling in fear. "Then why are you still calling me a pretty boy?" Bing Yao asked again with a threatening look on his face. It was as if he was saying, "If you dare to call me a pretty boy again, I'll send you to hell." "How can you be a pretty boy? How can there be such a powerful pretty boy like you?" The little rhinoceros said with tears in its eyes. Although it looked very similar, it couldn't help but add in its heart. But now, it knew that appearance could lie. It swore. In the future, it would never judge a book by its cover, that is, if it could still live. "Then, do you still call yourself Grandpa?" Bing Yao continued to ask. "I don't dare. I don't dare. You're my grandpas. You're all my grandpas," the little rhinoceros said loudly without any backbone. "Damn rhinoceros, who are you calling your grandfather?" When Lu Tao heard the term grandfather, she was obviously very dissatisfied. "They are grandpas and you are grandmas. This should be fine, right?" the little rhinoceros said with a crying face. These people were really too difficult to serve. When Feng Da and the others heard the little rhino's words, they could not help but laugh. However, Green Peach was even angrier. "Damn it, who wants to be your grandmother?" Green Peach was so angry that she threw the divine skill in her hand at the little rhinoceros' body as if she did not care about her life. The poor little rhinoceros had never thought that it would be beaten up by a man disguised as a pretty boy, and now it was going to be beaten up by a tigress. It was so depressed that it wanted to vomit blood. Moreover, the injuries on its body were even more serious. Woo! Who would pity it? Don't bully this vulnerable group of people. After Green Peach had vented enough, the poor little rhinoceros was finally free. At this time, it was so weak that it couldn't even speak. At this moment, Bing Yao took out a pill from his storage ring and stuffed it into the little rhino's mouth. In the blink of an eye, the injuries on the little rhino's body were completely healed, and the broken horn on its head grew back. It stood up from the ground and looked at the people in front of it with vigilance and fear. It didn't dare to speak anymore. Just now, because of the word grandmother, it had suffered another round of physical pain, so it had to learn from its mistakes. It was really too pitiful. The little rhinoceros couldn't help but complain in its heart. Bing Yao looked at the little rhino's frightened face and couldn't help but smile. Little rhinoceros, do you still want to have a one-on-one fight with me? And no, I don't want to anymore. I'm really convinced. The little rhinoceros quickly said. Its heart was filled with endless melancholy. It really missed home. Then tell me, who will you listen to in the future? Bing Yao asked with a smile. I'll listen to you. From now on, I'll be your little brother. I'll do whatever you tell me to do. If you tell me to go east, I'll never go west. I promise I'll do what I say. Just let me go. The little rhinoceros' eyes were filled with tears as it pitifully pleaded. We didn't plan to kill you. If you were so tactful, you wouldn't have to suffer this pain. Lung Ruoxue sighed softly and said with a hint of sympathy. Ah. The little rhinoceros was speechless. It didn't know that these people were so terrifying. Otherwise, it would have been well behaved. Little rhino, since you're convinced, we won't hold it against you for offending us before. However, I want you to remember who the master of this place is. You're only a citizen of my territory. In the future, you must obey the rules of my territory. Otherwise, don't blame me for being impolite. Lung Ruoxue warned. Chapter 1230, Terrifying Plant, 4, Yes. The little rhinoceros quickly nodded. It was used to living here. Although it had the thought of leaving, it was still reluctant to leave. After all, it had deep feelings for this place. Then you can just stay here. Don't cause trouble. Take the food as compensation for your beating. Go and eat. Lung Ruoxue pointed at the food that was still steaming. After she finished speaking, she prepared to lead the group away from this place. However, he had only taken a few steps when he was stopped by the confused little rhinoceros. Wait, didn't you want me to guard your house? The little rhinoceros asked in a low voice. I'm just teasing you. Our house is very safe. We don't need Beastie to guard the house. Lung Ruoxue chuckled and left with the rest. The little rhinoceros watched as everyone's gazes left. It had an indescribable feeling in its heart. It had mixed feelings and was extremely complicated. What was wrong with it? Why was he so dispirited? It looked at its former home, which was filled with the water it hated the most. It was afraid that it would not be able to live in it for a short time. Then, it looked at the deep pit that it had smashed out. It'll stay there for the time being. At the thought of this, the little rhinoceros adjusted its state of mind and walked towards the deep pit. Of course, before it left, it naturally did not forget to destroy the food left behind by Lung Ruoxue and the others. Lung Ruoxue and the rest left the little rhinoceros residence and headed towards the next dangerous place. The next morning, they followed Xiaoxiao's guidance and found the place that Xiao Xiao had said was dangerous. This place was located in the southernmost part of the Nightmare Forest, quite a distance from the mountain where they lived. Moreover, compared with the little rhino's bear house, this place was much greener, although it was still not as good as Zeus. The plants here were mainly grass and trees were rare. They had never seen many of the plants here before. It was obvious that this was a kingdom of plants. Be careful, everyone. Lung Ruoxue reminded him. Then, she pulled the demon and led the way into the dangerous plains. As they walked, Lung Ruoxue and the rest realized that there were more and more plants. Furthermore, they were all growing luxuriantly. The plants seemed to be very excited when they saw them, and they kept shaking their leaves. Are these plants welcoming us? Lu Tao asked in confusion as she looked at the plants that were swaying in front of them. Reading on Maibo XNO Velcom, please. They're welcoming us, but they're welcoming us to become their food. Lung Ruoxue said with a faint smile. Her words gave everyone a huge shock. Miss, don't tell me you mean that these plants want to eat us. Feng De said in disbelief. This is what I meant. Lung Ruoxue laughed nonchalantly. Then, she pointed at the grass not far away, indicating for everyone to look over. Everyone's gaze followed the direction that Lung Ruoxue was pointing at and saw that in the hidden underbrush, the color of the ground was dark red. Furthermore, there was also a hint of blood. When everyone saw this, they suddenly felt nauseated. "Miss, what's going on? Could it be that those grass are all carnivorous?" Feng Da's face was full of question marks. "No, but there must be some carnivorous grass here. So be careful." Leng Ruoxue reminded him again. Yes. Everyone nodded. After seeing the dark red soil, they didn't dare to let their guard down. The group walked all the way, and the deeper they went, the stronger the smell of blood became until they came to a place similar to a mountain stream. When they saw everything in front of them, they couldn't help but widen their eyes, their faces full of disbelief. In front of them, there were vines of different sizes, many of which had several small animals tied up. The small animals' faces were filled with pain, and their blood flowed endlessly to the vines that trapped them. Some of the small animals kept struggling, but the more they struggled, the more firmly the vines bound them. In the end, they became the vines' food. "Miss, are these man-eating vines?" Feng De could not help but ask. It can be considered a type of man-eating vine. However, they're of a much higher grade than ordinary man-eating vines, and they've already developed intelligence. Leng Ruoxue explained calmly. Chapter 12:31. God Devouring Vine 1. Arg. No way. Wouldn't that make it difficult to deal with? Feng De said gloomily. He hated these flesh-eating creatures the most. Since he had encountered them, he had to destroy them. However, they already had spiritual intelligence, so it was not so easy to deal with them. It's definitely difficult to deal with. Moreover, the vines we see now aren't the main vine. So, in order to deal with the man-eating vines, our first goal is to find the main vine. As long as the main vine dies, these vines will be easy to destroy. Otherwise, no matter how many we destroy, these vines will continue to grow. Leng Ruoxue explained calmly. She hated the man-eating vines as well, and she hated the smell of blood even more. Hence, these man-eating vines had to be eliminated. "Miss, what should we do now? Are we still going in?" Feng De couldn't help but ask. There were too many people going in, and he was afraid that he wouldn't be able to take care of them. However, if he waited outside, who knew what kind of danger there would be? So, he was very conflicted. All of you go in. However, everyone must be on high alert and be on high alert. If anyone is caught by the man-eating vines, they must shout for help, in case we don't notice them. Leng Ruoxue said after some thought. It was just as Feng De had thought. It might seem safe to leave a group of people outside, but there might be unknown dangers. If that happened, they would definitely not be able to rescue them in time. Hence, it was better for everyone to enter together. Godfather, you guys have to be careful of these man-eating vines too. Leng Ruoxue reminded him again. Even though Godfather was a reverent god, he might not be able to deal with these annoying man-eating vines. After all, these man-eating vines grew in the god realm. Even the gods would be helpless against them. After some thought, Leng Ruoxue moved the fire spirit out of her bracelet. The moment the little fire spirit came out, it smelled the blood in the air and wrinkled its nose in disgust. Then, it said in dissatisfaction, "Where is this place? Why are there such disgusting things here?" As the king of fire, what he hated the most was all the filthy things in the world. These vines that liked to suck blood and flesh were naturally on his blacklist. Therefore, he had to destroy them. Thinking of this, he released a big fireball without hesitation and threw it at the nearby vines. When the vines felt the fire spirit's temperature, they all cowered and shook their branches. The timid ones even let go of the small animals they had trapped and wanted to escape. However, how could the fire spirit give them the chance to escape? It threw a few more big fireballs in succession, cutting off the path of the vines and burning them to ashes in one fell swoop. "Sister, I've destroyed all those vines. It's much cleaner here, but the smell of blood is still there. I'll purify it in a while, and it'll be suitable for other plants to grow," the fire spirit said with a proud tone. "Little fire spirit, you're so capable. However, you've only destroyed a portion of it. We haven't found the main vine yet." Leng Ruoxue chuckled. "It doesn't matter. With Big Sisters and my flames, no one can escape from these disgusting things. Big Sister, why don't you let Qiuqiu come out and try?" That little thing is the most sensitive to things that have developed intelligence. Perhaps it can find the whereabouts of the main vine. The little fire spirit suggested. That's good. Lung Ruoxue nodded, and then moved Qiuqiu out of the bangle. The first thing Qiuqiu did was to get intimate with Lung Ruoxue, then it was the first elder, Master Ning, and the others who received its greetings and enthusiasm. The cute little Qiuqiu naturally won the love of everyone. Sister, the main vine of the man-eating vine should be hidden underground. It's hidden very deeply, so I can't sense it. However, as long as Big Sister annihilates all of its descendants, you'll naturally be able to force the man-eating vine to come up. Qiuqiu pointed at the tender vine that had just grown and suggested. I'll do it. The little fire spirit volunteered. After it finished speaking, it continued to release large fireballs, burning away the vines that had just grown out and were still tender green in color. However, as soon as he finished burning it, new vines would immediately grow out and he would continue to burn them. This cycle repeated and the growth of the vines became slower and slower while the little fire spirit burned more and more vigorously. In the end, the little fire spirit was getting impatient while waiting for the vines to grow. Reading on Maibo XNO Velcom, please. Vines, oh vines, you guys are growing really slowly. I've been waiting for so long that the flowers are wilting. The little fire spirit looked at the tender vine that had just emerged and muttered to itself. Ha! This little thing is taking advantage of us and still acting innocent. No matter how fast those vines grow, they can't keep up with the speed at which he burns them all. Master Ning couldn't help but smile. That's right. The little things around the girl are more arrogant than the other. The first elder also laughed. That's right, this is called being close to vermilion makes you red, and being close to ink makes you black. They're always with my junior sister, so it's not strange for them to learn from her. Bing Yao also said with a smile. Senior brother, may I ask if I'm Zhu or Emma? Lung Ruoxue asked with a half smile. Of course you're vermilion red. Bing Yao quickly said, and then secretly wiped the cold sweat on his forehead, because the other person's unfriendly gaze made him feel very scared. Miss, are we just going to wait here forever? Fengde asked curiously. After the vines had been burned, the place could be considered barren. As far as the eye could see, except for some places that had just revealed some tender green, the rest of the land was dark red. If the main vine doesn't come up on its own, we can't go underground to find it. We can only use this method to force it up. Lung Ruoxue laughed evilly. The vines that the little fire spirit had burned could be considered as branches of the main vine, and also its descendants. So, as long as they kept burning, the main vine would definitely come to settle the score with them. After all, the burning of the vines would definitely cause the main vine to feel pain. Then let's just wait here. Fengde said with a smile. Then, he took out a knife from his storage ring and walked to a newly sprouted vine. He raised the knife and cut down on the vine. Suddenly, a dark red liquid with a foul smell flowed out of the two halves of the vine. The liquid quickly corroded the ground, turning the surrounding ground into a charred black. Chapter 12:32, God-Devouring Vine, 2. Wow. These vines are really too powerful. Seeing this, Fengde was speechless. If this liquid dripped on a person's body, wouldn't the person's skin be burnt? That liquid is poisonous. Be careful. Don't get it on your body. Lung Ruoxue reminded. Okay, I'll be careful. After Fengde finished speaking, he raised his knife and slashed at the other sprouts. He seemed to be addicted to it. When the others saw this, they also took out their own weapons and gave the growing sprouts a fatal blow. Lung Ruoxue looked at Fengde and the rest's actions speechlessly. She couldn't help but let her imagination run wild. Oh, were they considered to be harming young seedlings? Even though those seedlings weren't anything good. At the same time, in the depths of the earth, a huge plant was trembling with anger. Countless branches were flying everywhere, and wherever the branches went, everything collapsed into ruins. Damned human! Despicable humans! If you dare to kill my children, I will not let you off. A vicious woman's voice reverberated in the depths of the earth, and the dust around it also fell down. One could imagine how intense its anger was at this time. Although the voice belonged to a woman, it could not be considered a human because it was just a plant. Although it had a beautiful woman's face, its body was still a plant. I've already said that you'll face retribution, and now it's finally here. A weak female voice was heard. Thank you for your concern, but you'll definitely leave before me. After the half-human half-plant woman finished speaking, she brought the object that made the sound to her eyes. The object was only the size of an adult puppy, and its originally white fur had turned dark yellow. Moreover, it was all tangled together. It could be seen that it had been trapped here for a long time. You're finally willing to kill me? The beastie that looked like a small dog said. Could it finally be free? In your dreams. I won't kill you. I'll let you stay here with me. However, they'll consider killing your child. You still don't know. Your child has been born and he's here. The half-human, half-plant woman smiled smugly. Seeing the little beast in front of her in pain, it was particularly happy. If you dare to touch my child, I won't let you off even if I become a ghost. The weak little beastie's slightly dim eyes burst out with endless hatred as it threatened fiercely. Become a ghost? You can only be my toy and puppet for the rest of your life. You won't have the chance to be a ghost, ha! I'm going to kill your child, I'm going to make you suffer, I'm going to make sure you'll never be able to free yourself. The half-human, half-plant woman laughed wildly. After she finished speaking, she even inserted one of her branches into the weak little beast's body and began to suck its blood. The weak little beast's face showed a painful expression, but it did not make a sound and closed its eyes. It knew that the hateful vampire demon would not let it die so easily. The demon had always enjoyed torturing itself, and the more it resisted, the more excited the demon would be. Therefore, it would not satisfy the demon's perverted hobby. The child. Had its child really come? Don't come here, there is a demon here. Little beastie screamed in its heart. It didn't want its child to be trapped here like it, unable to live or die. It wanted to save its child, wanted to see its child, but it didn't know if it would have the chance in this life. It was very conflicted. Reading on mybo.xn/com, please. When the half-human, half-plant woman saw the little beastie's self-deprecating look, her interest in sucking its blood was dispelled. She threw the little beastie in a corner in disgust, then shook her branches and leaves and crawled back to the ground. Damn humans, you're asking for death. It hasn't had fresh human blood for a long time. Today is a good time for a change of taste. Moreover, these humans did not seem to be weak. At the thought of this, its heart was excited and jubilant. Its desire for blood became stronger. It even began to fantasize about the pleasure of tying these humans to its branches. It must make these humans its exclusive property. It must drink their blood and eat their flesh every day, making them suffer a fate worse than death, just like this little beast. Just thinking about it made it feel unusually happy. However, its happiness did not last long. The branch that had just reached out of the ground was destroyed again. Seeing this situation, it was furious. Countless branches continued to drill into the ground. Little beastie, who was left in the corner, saw the half-human, half-plant woman's face changing like a palette, and it felt very satisfied. The corners of the little beastie's mouth curled up into a faint smile as it gloated. What? Heavy losses? It seemed that those humans weren't easy to deal with. Moreover, he clearly didn't put you in his eyes. Although it didn't know what was happening on the ground, it could guess from the evil demon's face that many of the branches that helped the evil demon hunt for food had been destroyed. Actually, this little beastie was only half right, because the half-human half-plant woman's branches were not mostly destroyed, but all of them. Otherwise, the other party would not be so angry. You shut up. How can those humans be my match? This is my territory. I will be the one laughing in the end. Those humans, including your child who came with them, will all become my food. None of them will be able to escape. The half-human, half-plant woman roared in anger. Oh really? If your useless descendants could deal with those humans, would you still be so angry? I suggest you go to the surface and see for yourself. Otherwise, I'm afraid your descendants will all be dead. The little beastie provoked with evil intentions. That was indeed what it had hoped for in its heart. Don't worry, I know what to do. The half-human and half-plant woman roared angrily. Damn it, this detestable little beast actually laughed at her. It would not let go of the humans who had killed its descendants, let alone that little bastard. As for the little beast, it would not kill it because it wanted the little beast to watch how it would eat the little bastard. Chapter 12:33, God Devouring Vine, 3. I'm just concerned about you. After all, we've known each other for so long. The weak little beast said with a smile. Its only purpose in living was to witness the death of this demon. Now that someone finally dared to deal with this demon, it felt that it had something to look forward to, and its child. If it could see its newly born child before it died, it would die without any regrets. I don't need your concern. You should be more concerned about your bastard. I won't let it go, it's dead. The half-human half-plant woman sneered. If you dare to touch my child, I'll fight you to the death. The little beastie said fiercely. It forced itself up from the ground and glared at the huge plant. You want to fight me to the death? Ha! What a joke. The half-human half-plant woman used a branch to roll up the little beast and brought it in front of her eyes, her face full of disdain and ridicule. I'm not joking. We soul-gnawing beasts have a secret technique that uses our lives as the price and perishes together with our enemies. Once I use it, even if my enemies are stronger than me, they won't be able to withstand it. So, don't force me. The weak little beastie warned. Ha! If there really was a secret technique, would you have waited until now? You can't lie to me. The half-human half-plant woman had a look of disbelief. Believe it or not, but don't force me to die with you. The weak little beastie said disapprovingly. It didn't want to die unless it was forced to because it still wanted to keep its life to see its child. However, if this demon wanted to use its child to force it, then it couldn't be blamed. Ha! Perishing together. Alright, I'll be waiting for you. However, I don't have the time to deal with your business now. I'll deal with you slowly after I capture those humans. After saying that, the half-human half-plant woman threw the weak little beast back into the corner and ignored it. Instead, she focused on dealing with the humans on the ground. It then extended countless branches out of the ground and directed its branches to attack Lung Ruoxue and the others who were on the ground. Lung Ruoxue and the others who were waiting for the green vines to grow were overjoyed when they saw the thick vines that suddenly emerged from the ground. This meant that the main vine that was hiding underground was no longer able to hold its breath. The little fire spirit's actions were even faster. Before the others could react, it had thrown out a few large fireballs, burning the vines to ashes. Little fire spirit, you're too bad. You didn't even give us a chance and got rid of those vines yourself. Fengda and the others couldn't help but complain. I'm sorry. I really can't bear to see those filthy things appear in front of me, and my mission is to destroy them. The little fire spirit said righteously. Everyone couldn't help but laugh when they saw that cocky little appearance. And just as everyone was ridiculing him, countless more vines drilled out from the ground. This time, it was the little fire spirit's quick hands and eyes again. After throwing out a few large fireballs, the vines all turned into ashes. Little fire spirit, can't you leave us some? Fengda said, a little speechless. He still wanted to try his own knife. However, who knew that this little thing would not give him any chance at all? So, this was really infuriating. If it was any other team, they would have been running for their lives if they encountered these man-eating vines. However, they had to resort to snatching, and they would not be able to snatch them. You guys don't need to be anxious. I'm just trying to force the main vine out. When it comes out, you guys can deal with it. The little fire spirit saw everyone's complaints and quickly comforted them. Reading on Maibo XNO vel calm, please. Oh, that's true, then you should do it. Your speed is fast. Fengda and the others thought for a while, then they walked to the side and left their seats empty. Immediately after, countless more vines emerged from the ground. Without exception, they were all burned by the little fire spirit. Just like that, the cycle repeated until night. The main vine didn't dare to show itself. However, the vines that it sent to the door all became dead souls under the little fire spirit's fire. Deep underground, the half-human, half-plant woman trembled with anger, and a large number of branches were still dancing in the air. The little beast in the corner was very happy to see this scene, and it couldn't help but secretly sigh. It seemed that the humans outside were not easy to deal with. Otherwise, this demon would not be so angry from embarrassment. Ha! That was great. Although it didn't dare to expect the humans to destroy this demon, it was already very satisfied that they could make this demon suffer. How many years had it been since it had seen a demon like this? It really missed it. Damn it, I won't let you see me as a joke. The half-human, half-plant woman once again wrapped the little beast in the corner with her branches and shook it up and down as she said fiercely, "Isn't it too late to say this now? You must be very angry right now, right? I can't even do anything to those humans you look down on." The half-human, half-plant in front of it called itself the God-eating vine, which meant that it could even eat gods. However, after knowing it for so long, it had not eaten many gods so far. After all, this was not the real God world, and the God-eating vine could not leave this place with its current strength. Those humans will become my food sooner or later. Do you think you'll let them go after killing so many of my descendants? The half-human, half-plant woman said arrogantly. Don't just talk. I think you don't even dare to leave this place. You even want to kill him. The small beast's face was full of mockery and disdain. In its opinion, if the evil demon dared to go up to the surface to take care of its so-called enemies, it would have gone up a long time ago. Since the divine devouring vine hadn't made any big movements so far, it was likely that the humans would be difficult to deal with. Don't provoke me. I won't be fooled. The half-human, half-plant woman roared angrily. Do those humans make you feel fear? Are you really scared? The little beastie continued to speak in an unconcerned manner. The smile on its face became even more obvious. I'm not afraid of them, I just don't want to go up now. The man-eating vine with the human face and plant body still said arrogantly. When do you want to go up? The little beast's face was full of curiosity. Its child should be with the humans above. Although it was a little worried about its child's safety, the human who could make the God-eating vine afraid must be quite powerful. Therefore, it spared no effort to stimulate the God-eating vine. Its purpose was to make the God-eating vine reach the ground quickly. This way, it would have a chance to see its child, even just for a glance. When the time comes, it'll naturally go up and deal with them. You should worry more about yourself. The God-eating vine reminded him with a cold smile. What do I have to worry about? Other than torturing me, can you bear to let me die too quickly? The little beastie said. At least you know your own limits. The divine devouring vine said with a gloomy face. It kept observing the movements outside through its small branches. It was waiting. It was waiting for a suitable time to exterminate these abominable humans and that little bastard in one fell swoop. Because its greatest pleasure was to see the little beast in front of it in pain. Only when the little beast was in pain would it be happy, ha! At the same time, Lung Ruoxue and the rest had already started to prepare dinner. After dinner, Lung Ruoxue took out the house and placed it on the empty ground. Then, everyone returned to their own rooms. Inside the bangle, Lung Ruoxue was currently observing the movements outside the house through the light screen. The little fire spirit and Qiu were sprawled in her arms, similarly observing the situation. Sister, plants like the man-eating vines love dark and damp places the most. So, it must be hiding somewhere underground right now, peeking at our every move. I reckon that it will launch a surprise attack on us at midnight. The little fire spirit said with absolute certainty. Yes, sister, the little fire spirit is right. That disgusting and ugly thing will definitely come out from the ground when we are all sleeping. So, let's just sleep now. There's no need to care about it. Qiu also suggested. Then let's go to sleep. Lung Ruoxue chuckled as she agreed. These two treasures had already decided on their behalf, so they could only follow their orders. The next morning, Lung Ruoxue and the demon had just walked out of the room when they saw Feng De and the rest gathered in the courtyard. They were discussing animatedly and each of them had a look of excitement on their faces. What's wrong? Lung Ruoshua asked despite knowing the answer. Young miss, these man-eating vines surrounded us late last night and are now showing off their might outside. Fengde said with excitement. Oh. Lung Ruoshua raised her head and happened to see the man-eating vine's branches dancing above their house. It looked like it was about to cover the house. Fortunately, there was a thin layer of film above the house that blocked the attack of the branches. Otherwise, the man-eating vine's vines would have reached into the courtyard. Miss, what should we do now? When are you going to go out and properly deal with those man-eating vines? Fengde asked impatiently. He really wanted to try his knife. There's no rush. Let's let that man-eating vine be smug for a while. Let's have breakfast. Lung Ruoshua suggested with a chuckle. The enemy was in high spirits, so they would not go out at this time. As time passed, the man-eating vine's fighting spirit would naturally be worn down. When that time came, it would be the time for them to make their move. Furthermore, she also wanted to understand more about the man-eating vines. All right, he said. Everyone nodded and began to prepare breakfast. After breakfast, they went about their business, but no one paid any attention to the man-eating vine. 3 days later, the man-eating vine couldn't keep its cool and moved its huge body out of the ground. Looking at the house that was already surrounded by its branches and leaves, it couldn't help but feel smug. However, the other party refused to come out of the house, and it couldn't do anything to him. This made it very unhappy. At the thought of this, the man-eating vine could not help but curse. You cowardly humans, if you have the ability, come out. What kind of skill is it to hide in there? Hurry up and come out. However, the man-eating vine's curses did not receive any response from anyone. At this time, everyone was sitting in the courtyard, observing the man-eating vine through the light screen. Chapter 1234, Soft Persimmon 1. Wah! This was the man-eating vine. He's so ugly. Lu Tao looked at the man-eating vine that was cursing outside and said with a face full of disgust. Why does it have a human face but a plant body? Fengde was also puzzled. Was this considered a side effect of an incomplete advancement? Some kind of accident must have happened when this plant advanced. Otherwise, it's unlikely that such a situation would occur. Chiu explained with an evil smile. Plant-type creatures were most afraid of being disturbed when advancing in rank, so this plant was in its current state. Then is it possible for it to advance normally? Or will it always be like this in the future? Suizhu asked curiously. From the looks of it, this plant was a female. If it could only remain like this in the future, it was likely that this female man-eating vine would suffer for the rest of its life. After a long time, their hearts would definitely change, such as being perverted, being cynical, and so on. It'll be a big deal if it's always like this in the future. But it doesn't matter. It won't live long anyway. It doesn't matter what it looks like. Chiu said disapprovingly. It was true that it liked heavenly and earthly treasures, but this plant was definitely not on its list of favorites. Therefore, it couldn't wait for someone to get rid of this plant. Not to mention others, the first one the little fire spirit would not let go of was that man-eating vine. That's true, miss. Are we just going to let it scold us like that? When are you going to go out and clean it up? Suizhu said somewhat impatiently. In a while I, the evildoer, godfather, great elder, senior brother, Mo Yen and Lu Feng will go out. The rest of you stay in the house and don't act rashly. Lung Ruoshua said after some thought. Even though this man-eating vine's strength was only equivalent to a high-level deity, this was still its lair after all. Furthermore, it had a huge number of vines. She was afraid that it would not be able to take care of everyone. Hence, it was better to let them stay in the house. Miss, you can't not bring me along. Fengde quickly said. Miss, I want to go too. Cheng Wu said, unwilling to show weakness. All right, all of you follow me out. Song Di as well. The rest of you can stay in the house and watch the battle. Lung Ruoshua said helplessly. Furthermore, looking at her grandfather and brother's expressions, she had no choice but to bring them along. After a simple discussion of their strategy, Lung Ruoxue and the rest sat on the ground calmly and steadily, waiting for the right moment. The god-eating vine, which had been scolding for nearly an entire morning, saw that no one dared to come out and court death. It suddenly felt as if it had punched cotton and had no way to vent the gloominess in its heart. Thinking of this, it curled its branches and brought the weak little beast to its eyes. Did you see that? Those humans who were as timid as mice didn't dare to come out at all. They were afraid. And you? Do you want to see your child? If you want to get them to come out and die, I promise you that I'll let you see your child one last time. The god-devouring vine roared. It believed that the people hiding in the houses could hear it. I don't have the ability to call him out for you. If you have the ability, you can call me that. The weak little beast lifted its eyelids and said with a light smile, "Damn it, you're really looking for death." The god-devouring vine roared. After it finished, it stuck its branches into the little beast's body and started to suck its blood. It really wanted to taste fresh human blood. It had had enough of this detestable little beast's blood. Reading on Maibo XNOVL. Come please. Ha! You can't bear to see me die. Little beastie was very certain. It closed its eyes and didn't look at the divine eating vine. Damn it, open your eyes. The god-devouring vine saw that the little beast was ignoring it, and the anger in its heart surged. However, the little beastie didn't seem to hear him. Only its weak breathing proved that it was still alive. In the house, Xiaoxiao's tears began to stream down her face at the sight of this scene. She muttered to herself, "Mother! Mother! Xiao Xiao, is that little beastie your mother?" Lu Tao asked in surprise. No wonder she found the little beast familiar. However, weren't soul-gnawing beasts supposed to be very powerful? How did her little mother become the man-eating vine's food? She really couldn't understand. "Yes, it's Mom," Xiao Xiao cried. "Xiao Xiao, did you get the wrong person? How could that little beast be your mother? Isn't your mother very powerful?" Fengde couldn't help but ask. Even Ziyu, a half-beast human with the strength of a divine emperor, would feel fear towards an adult soul-eating beast. Therefore, he really couldn't believe that his little mother would be controlled by that man-eating vine, and even become its food. Xiao Xiao won't be wrong. That's Mommy. Mommy is in pain. Sister, save Mommy. Xiao Xiao cried and begged, its tears wetting its snow-white fur. At this moment, its pitiful little appearance made everyone's heart ache. Don't worry, Xiao Xiao. We'll definitely think of a way to get your mother out. However, Xiao Xiao, you have to do as your sister says, understand? Lung Ruoxue reminded. Yes, I'll listen to you. I'll do whatever you want me to do. Xiao Xiao nodded her head vigorously, looking very obedient. All right then, Xiao Xiao. When we go out later, just follow what I taught you and look at your sister's eyes. After Lung Ruoxue finished speaking, she whispered a few words into Xiao Xiao's ear and reminded her again. Yes. Xiao Xiao nodded again. Following that, Lung Ruoxue and the rest opened the door of the house and walked out. When the god-devouring vine, which was sucking the blood of the small beast, saw that the despicable humans were finally willing to come out of the house, it threw the small beast in front of it onto the ground behind it. Then, its beautiful eyes sized up Lung Ruoxue and the rest. Although it had already observed these people when it was underground, it was still shocked and jealous to see them at such a close distance. It was shocked that the men in front of it were more handsome than each other. It was jealous of the hateful woman in front of it. How could she be more beautiful than it? This was something it could not tolerate. So, the woman was dead for sure. As for those men, it would let them live well and be its exclusive property. It would suck their blood every day and make these men its captives for life, loyal to it forever. It would always belong to it. Ha! The god-eating vine laughed wildly in the depths of its heart and was daydreaming. Chapter 12:35. Soft Persimmon 2. Humans, you're finally willing to roll out of your house? The god-eating vine said with a disdainful smile. Man-eating vine, you must be mistaken. We've been waiting for you outside, but you didn't want to come out from the ground. Now you're blaming us? This is ridiculous. Feng De replied with a mocking smile. What did you just call me? The god-eating vine glared at him and roared. Man-eating vines. But did I address him wrongly? Could it be that you're a herbivore? Feng De teased with a smirk. Damn it, don't compare me to those low-level carnivorous plants. I'm the god-devouring vine, the king of plants. When you see me, you should bow to show respect. However, since this is your first offense, this king will not haggle with you. The god-devouring vine said with a magnanimous look. Its narcissistic words made Leng Ruoxue and the others laugh wildly. Ha! You call yourself the king of plants? May I ask who approved of this? Don't tell me you self-proclaimed it? I'm dying of laughter. Feng De didn't give him any face as he laughed out loud. Although the others didn't say anything, the smiles on their faces revealed what they were thinking. The divine devouring vine's words were too ridiculous. How audacious! This king was born to be the king of plants, and you all dare to look down on me. I will make you regret this. The god-eating vine was furious, and its pretty face turned livid with anger. I wonder how you want us to regret this? Leng Ruoxue asked curiously. I will kill you. As for these men, let them be my exclusive property. This king just so happens to need some male pets and food. In the future, you will all be this king's people. As long as you are obedient, not only will this king not eat you, but this king will also love you well. The god-eating vine boasted shamelessly. When Feng De and the rest heard the man-eating vine's words, their expressions became extremely strange. None of them had expected that this man-eating vine was not only narcissistic, but also extremely lecherous. He wanted them to be his male companions, but what did he want them to do? When Leng Ruoxue heard the man-eating vine's arrogant words, she couldn't help but laugh out loud. She even looked at Feng De and the rest with a gloating expression and teased, Oh, Feng De, you guys will be its male pets in the future, so you guys have to perform well. Feng De's forehead was full of black lines, and he couldn't help but reply, Miss, you're going to die soon. You won't be able to see if we perform well or not. What a pity. That's true. Man-eating vines. Don't kill me first. Let me see if they have the qualifications to be your male companions, then you can kill me. Leng Ruoxue was discussing with the man-eating vines calmly. Damn it, I told you I'm not a man-eating vine. I'm the noble king of plants, god-eating vine. If you dare to call me a man-eating vine again, I'll eat you right now. The divine devouring vine was so angry that its branches and leaves trembled, and it roared at the top of its lungs. Reading on Maibo XNOVL. Come please. Calm down. Pay attention to your image, no other king would shout like you, it's beneath your status. Leng Ruoxue reminded. Damn it. That's because I'm angry with you guys. I'll eat whoever dares to call me man-eating vine again. The god-devouring vine threatened furiously. From its words, it sounded as if Leng Ruoxue and the others had already become its food. Man-eating vine, do you really need men? I suggest you find a plant like green foxtail grass. It's a good match for you. Feng De suggested with a smile. Feng De, you're wrong. How can this man-eating vine be worthy of green foxtail grass? Don't humiliate the green foxtail grass. It has its own dignity and will not take a fancy to this man-eating vine. Cheng Wu corrected him with a serious expression. Yes, that makes sense. I was wrong. I shouldn't have randomly chosen a couple. Feng De immediately admitted his mistake and had a good attitude. However, their cooperation made the divine eating vine even angrier. Now, the divine eating vine was very sure that these two people were doing this on purpose to anger it to death. Thinking of this, the god-eating vine stretched out its long branches and swept toward Feng De and Cheng Wu. The branch was soft and long, extremely tough, and extremely fast. Before anyone could react, Feng De and Cheng Wu had already been swept away by the branch. The god-devouring vine waved its branches and swung Feng De and Cheng Wu in the air. Its intention was obvious. It wanted to give them a scare and make them faint. However, Feng De and Cheng Wu would not let it have its way. The two of them were having fun in the air, and Cheng Wu kept urging, Higher. Higher. Yes, yes, throw it higher. Make your movements more intense. Feng De also said with a smile. When Leng Ruoxue and the rest on the ground heard Feng De and Cheng Wu's words, cold sweat trickled down their foreheads. They secretly sighed in their hearts. So, these two fellows were treating the man-eating vines as free labor. The pitiful man-eating vines. He had actually encountered these abnormal humans. When the divine devouring vine heard the conversation between the two of them, it was so angry that all the branches on its body trembled. More and more branches extended towards Leng Ruoxue and the others, and with a whoosh they wrapped around them. When Leng Ruoxue and the rest saw this, they went with the flow. None of them struggled, allowing the man-eating vines to do whatever they wanted. When the divine devouring vine saw that it had easily succeeded, it couldn't help but become more and more proud. In its opinion, these humans were too weak and couldn't even withstand a single blow. Otherwise, how could they have been caught by it? Oh right, where did that little bastard go? He seemed to have seen it just now. The divine devouring vine searched everywhere and finally found a snow-white figure in Leng Ruoxue's arms. Damned human, hand over that little bastard to me, and I'll let you die a quick death. The divine devouring vine's eyes were filled with hatred as it glared at Xiao Xiao, who was in Leng Ruoxue's arms. If I don't give you Xiao Xiao, how do you plan on letting me die? Leng Ruoxue asked curiously. I'll first suck your blood dry, then eat your flesh. Then, I'll throw you, who only has one breath left, into the forest to feed the wild beasts. I'll let you see with your own eyes that you're being gnawed at by wild beasts, and hear your bones making cracking sounds in the mouths of wild beasts. At that time, you'll wish you were dead. What a waste of such a beautiful face. The divine devouring vine said, burning with jealousy. Chapter 1236, Soft Persimmon, 3, Yes. It was jealous. It was jealous of that woman's devastatingly beautiful face and sexy figure because it could never become a real woman again. All of this was because of that little evildoer, so it hated her. It hated all the beautiful women, but it hated those little bastards even more. Therefore, it would never let go of the two types of creatures that fell into its trap. One was women, and the other was children. That's a good idea. Leng Ruoxue praised the man-eating vine after hearing its words. Ha! It's good that you like it. The god-eating vine laughed wildly, and its face became more and more proud. Suddenly, it felt a burst of pain. It looked up and saw that the two men it had caught had broken free of its restraints and were falling from the air. They were each holding a knife in their hands, and dark red liquid was dripping from the knife. Needless to say, it was its blood. Seeing this scene, the god-eating vine was angry again. It quickly stretched out its branches and attacked Feng De and Cheng Wu. However, for some reason, the two people's movements became more flexible. It attacked left and right, but it couldn't do anything to the other party. This made it a little anxious. At the same time, the pain from its branches spread to its trunk, causing its heart to tremble. Seeing the people trapped by it break out one after another and give it a heavy blow before leaving, this fact almost made it go crazy. Damned human! I'm going to kill you all. Looking at its broken branches and leaves, the god-eating vine was very angry, because those vines were of great importance to it. They were not only a part of its body, but also shared its strength. Now, those branches were broken, which meant that its strength had been damaged. How could it not be angry from embarrassment? Man-eating vine, don't just say it. You should prove it with your actions. Leng Ruoxue, who was floating in midair, suggested with a faint smile. I'll prove it to you, you damn woman. The god-eating vine couldn't be bothered to correct the other party for not calling it a man-eating vine. Right now, it only wanted to kill this detestable woman in front of it. And these men, it also decided to eliminate them. Because it didn't need disobedient male pets or food. It would make these humans pay the price. Then come quickly. I'll be waiting. Leng Ruoxue urged impatiently. Damn woman, you're asking for death. The fiery god-devouring vine gathered all its branches and leaves together and pounced towards Leng Ruoxue. Lung Ruoshua looked at the man-eating vine's extremely fast speed. In the blink of an eye, it had already reached her. Unhurriedly, she released a small flame from her fingertip. The small flame jumped excitedly, as if it was very happy that it could be of use again. After seeing the man-eating vine, it could not wait to fly towards it. Whoosh! The man-eating vine's branches were set ablaze, followed by the man-eating vine's agonized cries. Arg! Damn it! What kind of fire is that? How can he be so powerful? The god-devouring vine endured the pain and cut off its burning branch, questioning angrily. It's just an ordinary flame. But I'm really sorry for the pain. I didn't do it on purpose. I forgot that wood is afraid of fire. Lung Ruoshua laughed evilly. However, there was not a single trace of apology on her beautiful face. Reading on Maibo XNOVL. Come please. Ordinary flames? Do you think I'm as gullible as a 3-year-old child? That's definitely not an ordinary flame, and am not a piece of wood. The god-eating vine roared in exasperation. It felt a trace of fear towards Lung Ruoshua. The flames had multiplied its fear because it knew very well that it was no match for the flames. If it was an ordinary flame, it would not have been able to burn its branches. However, the flames had not used any strength and had burned its branches into ashes. This was enough to show that the level of the flames was very high. It was also afraid of the flames that the little doll had released. At the thought of this, Lung Ruoshua and the little doll that had not appeared in front of it had become people that it could not provoke for the time being. However, it was not as afraid of the rest. Since it had made up its mind to kill all the humans, it would not be merciful to them. However, it still had to choose the soft persimmons. After looking around, it chose a soft persimmon, and it chose Bing Yao. This man was too beautiful. If it wasn't for the fact that these humans were so hateful, it really wanted to keep this man by its side and enjoy him. What a pity! The beautiful man in front of it was destined to be its target. Although it was a little reluctant, it had decided to kill Bing Yao. After making the decision, all of its branches flew towards Bing Yao in an instant. In the blink of an eye, it had tied Bing Yao up and brought him to its eyes. Upon closer inspection, the man was stunningly beautiful. Although there were men more beautiful than him among these humans, he was more pleasing to the eye because he was too similar to the person in its heart, whether it was in temperament or appearance. Bing Yao, who was tied up like a hairpin, felt the man-eating vine's gaze on him. He did not hesitate and allowed the man-eating vine to admire him. Although he did not like the way the man-eating vine looked at him as if he was its prey, he should not be so stingy when facing someone who was about to die. He would just do a good deed. Am I beautiful? The god-eating vine, who was immersed in its memories, asked with a shy expression. So ugly. I've never seen anyone uglier than you. Bing Yao said honestly. Although he wanted to do good every day, he couldn't lie. No normal human would think that a wooden stake was beautiful. Could it be uglier than this? The god-devouring vine was furious. It used a branch to roll up the little beast behind it and question Bing Yao. At least it's cute. But look at you, you're neither a human nor a tree. You can't be considered beautiful. Bing Yao said honestly. I'm in this state because of them. I want let it go, and I want let that little bastard go. The god-devouring vine pointed at the weak little beast and said, thinking of the past, the anger in its heart became more and more uncontrollable. We didn't harm you. It's your own evil intentions. You harmed yourself. At this moment, the weak little beast spoke indifferently. It sneaked a glance at the snow-white little beast in the woman's arms from the corner of its eye, and its heart softened. I didn't eat. Why would I want to harm myself? It's all your fault. The god-eating vine roared angrily, but it didn't get any response from little beast. Calm down. You're already in this state, and weird things won't solve the problem, right? I think you're in a lot of pain living like this, so why don't I help you free yourself? Bing Yao said with a smile, but the words he said were so vicious that it almost made the divine devouring vine vomit blood. Even you want me to die? The god-eating vine said with a heartbroken expression. Whether you die or not has nothing to do with me. However, if you don't die, I'm afraid we'll be the ones to die. So you should die. Bing Yao thought for a while and said with certainty, You really want me to die? The God-eating vine confirmed again. Yes, yes. Bing Yao quickly nodded. But, why do you all want me dead? You want me to die, but I want to live well. I'm going to kill all of you. The God-eating vine roared fiercely. However, no one took its roar seriously. Instead, they watched as it dug its own grave. They couldn't help but gloat in their hearts. What a pitiful man-eating vine. He originally thought that he had picked a soft persimmon, but who knew that he had picked a hard bone? Did Bing Yao have a face that could deceive the public? Damn woman, do you want to save this man in my hands? If you want to, you can exchange it with the little beast in your arms. The God-eating vine said. Don't. When the weak little beast heard the God-eating vine's words, it hurriedly said nervously. However, it was too embarrassed to ask them not to use its child to exchange for their people, so after only 2 shouts, it stopped making any more sounds. The God-eating vine also didn't allow it to speak and directly threw it from the air to the ground behind it, so that this annoying little beast wouldn't ruin its good plan. What if I say I won't exchange with you? Lung Ruoxue asked curiously. You actually don't care about your friend's life and death for a bastard of unknown origin. The friendship between you humans is nothing more than this. The divine devouring vine said sarcastically. Its face was filled with contempt for Lung Ruoxue. You don't have to worry about our friendship. Just take care of yourself. Lung Ruoxue said with a smile. That damned woman. You really don't want to exchange with me? The God-eating vine said, unwilling to give up. No. Lung Ruoxue was very certain, but the God-eating vine didn't fully believe her words. In the God-eating vine's heart, this woman was just holding on. How could she ignore the life and death of her human friend for a little beast? Don't regret it if you don't exchange with me. The God-eating vine reminded. You're so long-winded. I said I want trade, so I won't trade. As for the man you caught, if you can really kill him, I'll consider you capable. Lung Ruoxue said impatiently. Do you really think I don't dare to kill him? The God-eating vine roared, and its branches trembled in anger. If you dare to kill me, then kill me. Stop talking nonsense. Lung Ruoxue waved her hand as if she was chasing away a fly. Little Shui, how could you do this to me? I'm so sad. Bing Yao's beautiful eyes were filled with tears as she said pitifully. However, his act of pity was ignored by Lung Ruoxue. The divine devouring vine's heart ached for him. This woman is so heartless. You'd better follow me in the future. I'll definitely treat you well. The God-eating vine promised. Oh, how are you going to treat me well? Bing Yao asked curiously. I'll suck less of your blood every day so that you can live longer. I'll definitely make you live longer than this detestable little beast. The God-eating vine said with a charitable expression. Pfft. When everyone heard the man-eating vine's words, they could not help but laugh. After all this, in the man-eating vine's heart, sucking less blood and letting it live longer was already treating it well. Chapter 1237. Self-Destruction 1. Damn it. What are you laughing at? No one is allowed to laugh. The God-devouring vine saw that everyone was grinning from ear to ear and couldn't help but swing its branches in anger, trying to threaten the other party. Unfortunately, it was ignored by Feng Da and the others. Man-eating vines. You are too overbearing, we can't even laugh. Feng Da said as he held back his laughter. If it wasn't for the fact that he felt that the man-eating vine's words were too laughable, they wouldn't be laughing so happily. No. None of you are allowed to laugh anymore. The divine devouring vine roared and then glared at Bing Yao. Do you want to follow me or not? Hurry up and answer me. I don't want to. Bing Yao replied without even thinking. But didn't I say I would treat you well? You're still not satisfied? Why are all men so greedy? The divine devouring vine heard Bing Yao's words and roared in anger. It's not that men are greedy, but no man can accept your kindness. Bing Yao spoke the truth. Which normal man would be able to accept such kindness? Was it a good thing to suck less blood and live a little longer? Rather than living like that, he might as well kill himself. At least the pain would be less. However, looking at the man-eating vine's crazed appearance, could it have been rejected by the man before? It was normal to reject it, but it was abnormal to accept it. Why not? I didn't eat you all, what else do you want? The God-eating vine was furious. Why did all the men it liked hurt it like this? It was like that in the past, and it was the same with the one in front of it now. It couldn't understand how it couldn't compare to that hateful little beast. You're being nice to us just because you didn't eat us? Bing Yao said sarcastically. Plants were just plants, how could they understand what true feelings were? The man-eating vine dealt with people based on its instincts. In its heart, men were equivalent to food. However, no man with flesh and blood was willing to be food. What else do you want? The God-eating vine was confused. We want to live with dignity. However, you won't understand what dignity is. In your eyes, everyone can become food. The only difference is whether you allow the food to live longer. Bing Yao said calmly. Right. You're right, everyone is my food, so I'm the only one who can decide your life and death. I'm going to ask you one last time, do you want to follow me or not? The God-eating vine didn't want to waste any more time and asked directly. I still have the same 2 words, no. Bing Yao said without hesitation. Damn it. I've already given you the opportunity, but you didn't know how to grasp it. Don't blame me for being merciless. The God-eating vine was very annoyed. Why did all the men it liked not like it? It couldn't understand why no man liked it when it was so beautiful and had a high status in the botanic world. But whatever you want, Bing Yao said without a care. Reading on Maibo XNOVL. Come please. You asked for this. After saying that, the divine devouring vine extended its branches towards Bing Yao, who was tied up like a dumpling. If it couldn't get it, it wouldn't let others have the chance to get it. Since you don't want to be its man, then be its food. Eating the man it liked was also one of its greatest pleasures. Because only in this way would the man it liked belong to it forever, and no one could take him away. However, as soon as the vine reached Bing Yao, he grabbed it with his bare hands. He flicked it with his divine power and the vine was broken. How did you break my branches? The God-eating vine looked at its broken branch and said in disbelief. Aren't they just some dried branches? What can't be shaken? Bing Yao said with a faint smile, but his eyes were fixed on the branch in his hand, studying it. This branch was slightly different from the other branches because its front end was actually something like a suction cup. There were also sharp spikes on it, but the center of the spikes was empty, forming a tube. It could be seen that this branch was specially used by man-eating vines to suck blood. Why you let me go? The God-devouring vine looked at its most important branch being held by Bing Yao for research, and it suddenly became nervous. It was afraid that the man would break the branch it used to suck blood just like the other branches. Moreover, although it had many branches all over its body, this was the only one it used to eat. If it was broken, it would take hundreds of years to grow back. As a result, it would have to starve for the next hundreds of years. As a divine devouring vine, the most unbearable thing for it was not being able to drink fresh blood. Therefore, it would never tolerate its branch being damaged. What if I don't? This branch is quite interesting. I really want to cut it open and study it in detail. Do you agree? Bing Yao asked curiously. I don't agree. I don't agree. The God-eating vine immediately cried out. It would be a ghost if it agreed. That hateful man. What a terrifying man. Why did it think that this man was easy to bully? Now, it realized that it might have been wrong. It's not up to you to disagree. Bing Yao laughed coldly and took out a silver dagger from his storage ring. The dagger was extremely sharp and it gave off a cold air. One look and one could tell that it was not an ordinary dagger. Bing Yao held a dagger in his hand and gestured on the branch, as if he was choosing a suitable place to cut. This scene frightened the God-eating vine. The branches all over its body trembled, and it used all its strength to pull the branch back from Bing Yao's hand. However, Bing Yao would not give it the chance. Everyone heard a pop sound and saw a 1-foot-long gash on the branch in Bing Yao's hand. Red liquid gushed out, and the divine eating vine scream was heard. Arg! How detestable! How detestable! I won't let you go, you're dead. The divine devouring vine cried out in pain, and the branches on its body trembled even more violently. However, Bing Yao didn't take its threats seriously at all. Chapter 12:38, Self-Destruction, 2. Bing Yao held the branch that was as thick as a baby's arm tightly in his hand. He started to move the sharp dagger up and down again. Then he found the right position and cut again. Then the God-eating vine's scream sounded again. Bing Yao seemed to be addicted to it. He cut here and there, and the people could only hear the man-eating vine's screams never stop. In fact, each scream was louder than the last. The God-devouring vine screamed and cursed. The more it cursed, the more Bing Yao's dagger slashed. When everyone saw this, they couldn't help but feel a few black lines on their foreheads. They couldn't help but secretly sigh. Bing Yao was so terrifying. He actually tortured the man-eating vines like this. Fortunately, they weren't Bing Yao's enemies. If they were in his place, they wouldn't be able to stand it either. So, the pitiful man-eating vines. Why did you have to provoke Bing Yao of all people? Wasn't this just looking for trouble? The fate of the man-eating vines made them believe even more firmly that one could not judge a book by its cover. Despicable humans. After a long while, the God-eating vine was still scolding, but its voice was getting weaker and weaker. Bing Yao seemed to be tired as well. He stopped what he was doing and looked at the man-eating vine with a faint smile. "I'll rest for a while and we'll continue later." "You should rest too. I don't want to have no energy to scold later," Bing Yao suggested with a smile. When the God-eating vine heard Bing Yao's words, it was so angry that it almost fainted. However, it did need to rest for a while. This man had too many ways to torture it. If it did not rest up enough, it was afraid that it would be tortured to death. "Woo, this demon. I can't believe you would have this day." Suddenly, a weak voice rang in the divine eating vine's ears. When the divine eating vine heard this voice, it immediately became spirited again. How could it have forgotten about this little beast that deserved to die? With this little beast here, these humans wouldn't dare to kill it. Thinking of this, it couldn't help but feel a little proud. This little beast was quite useful. He could be its food when he was free, and now he could save its life. It seemed that he had made the right decision not to kill the little beast. The God-eating vine's long branch gently rolled back, and the little beast it had thrown behind it was brought to its eyes. Moreover, with the little beast as a protective talisman, it felt a little more relaxed. "Detestable human, let go of my blood-sucking vines, or I'll kill this little beast." The God-eating vine raised the little beast in front of its eyes and threatened. "I say, man-eating vine, you must be mistaken. This little beast has nothing to do with us. Do you think it's useful to use it to threaten us?" Bing Yao said, a little speechless. "Yup." "Man-eating vine, do you have a brain? What does this little beast's life or death have to do with us? If you want to use it to threaten us, you've found the wrong person." Feng De also laughed and teased. "It's that little bastard's mother. I don't believe that you want save it for that little bastard," the divine devouring vine said confidently. Previously, it had asked that hateful woman for that little vile spawn, but that woman had refused to give it to it. Therefore, it was very certain that the woman would definitely save this hateful little beast for the little vile spawn in her arms. At that time, it would be able to escape, because it was now very sure that it was no match for these humans. It was never too late for a gentleman to take revenge. When it had achieved some success in its cultivation, it would naturally come back to seek revenge on these humans. Reading on Maibo XNOVL. Come please. You said it's Xiaoxiao's mommy, so it's Xiaoxiao's mommy? Do you think we're as stupid as you and will believe your words? Lung Ruoxue mocked calmly. Why don't you believe me? This little beast is the mother of the little bastard in your arms. This is absolutely true. The God-devouring vine couldn't help but roar. It was so angry that it was going crazy. These humans were too difficult to deal with. It had seen many humans in the forest, but this was the first time it had encountered such a difficult one. It was really infuriating. If you don't believe it, you don't believe it. Do you need a reason? Don't think that senior brother will let you off just because you randomly find a little beast to pretend to be Xiao Xiao's mother. Leng Ruoxue chuckled. After she finished speaking, she lowered her head and asked little Xiao, who was in her arms, "Xiao Xiao, the man-eating vine said that the little beast in its hands is your mother. Is it? It's not. Xiao Xiao doesn't have a mother." Xiao Xiao looked up at little beastie with its watery eyes and said softly. However, it couldn't help but think, "Mommy, mother, bear with it. Big sister will save you." "Why isn't it? She is your mother. You little bastard, you don't even recognize your own mother." When the divine devouring vine heard Xiaoxiao's words, it roared angrily. "It really isn't. Don't try to find a soul-gnawing beast to pretend to be my mother. I'm not that easy to fool." Xiao Xiao pouted her little mouth and said stubbornly, "Damn you, you little bastard. Your father died to save you, and your mother suffered because of you. You don't acknowledge them. You really have no conscience." The god-eating vine roared with a pained expression. "It's not that I don't recognize it, but I don't even know the soul-gnawing beast you speak of. How do you want me to recognize it? I can't just randomly acknowledge a mother. How can I face my mother who gave birth to me like that?" Xiao Xiao said seriously, "Quickly tell that little bastard that you're its biological mother. Hurry up and let it recognize you." The god-eating vine saw this and ordered the weak little beast in its hand. It's right, I'm not its mother, and I won't randomly acknowledge my own child. So, don't waste your time, I won't let you have your wish." The weak little beast said with a strong backbone. It looked at the little white beast in Leng Ruoxue's arms lovingly and prayed in its heart, "Child, you have to take good care of yourself. Mother would rather die than let this demon hurt you. To be able to see you once, Mother is already dead without any regrets. Do you believe that I will kill you right now?" The god-eating vine was filled with hatred when it saw that it couldn't achieve its goal. It hated the humans who had forced it, but it hated the detestable little beast in its hands even more. "All right, go ahead and kill. I've always wanted to accompany Brother Fan," the weak little beast said with a light smile. Now that it saw that its child was living well, it had nothing to worry about. Thus, the threat of the god-eating vine to it was not of much use. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.